This is the August 25th, 2026 open meeting of the Hopkinton Conservation Commission being conducted remotely consistent with an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. The new law authorizes all members of a public body to continue participating in meetings remotely. The open meeting law's requirement that a quorum of the body and the chair be physically present at the meeting location remains suspended. For this meeting, the Hopkinton Conservation Commission is convening by video conference via Zoom, as posted on the town's web meeting calendar, and the Conservation Commission agenda identifying how the public may join. Additionally, the meeting may also be broadcast by HCAM through one or many of its channels or platforms. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Please also keep yourself on mute unless and until called on by the chair. Supporting materials have been provided to the members of the commission for this meeting are also available on the town's website. This meeting will feature public comment. After commission members and staff have discussed each project application on the agenda, the chair will open the discussion to public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak are asked to identify their name and address. 3 minutes will be afforded for each public comment. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted via roll call of the members. I will now confirm which commission members are present. Melissa Recos, Chair.
Present.
Jim Cirillo.
Present.
Peggy Shaw. I know we saw you. Oh, there you are.
Sorry.
Walter Garland, did you make it? Did you join us?
Present.
There you are. We will not have Ed Harrow or Matt Moyen tonight. I am Ted Barker Hook, and I am present. I will now confirm staff that are present. Judy Day, the Hopkinton Conservation Commissioner.
Present.
Anna Rogers, the Environmental and Inspectional Services Coordinator.
Present.
And Joe Orzel of Lucas Environmental.
Present.
Melissa, we have 3 hearings on the agenda that have been continued. I'd like to let everyone know ahead of time that we will not be discussing tonight Kelly at 15 Montana Road, Agalitas Energy at 0 Franklin Road. Both of those have been continued to September 15th. We will also not discuss Wall Street Development at 12 North Mill. That one has been continued to September 29th, 2026.
All right. Thank you, Ted.
You're welcome.
Just before we start off, I'll just ask everyone who's not speaking to put themselves on mute, just for clarity. And those who are speaking. And with that being said, I'll jump right into our work session items. First up, we have draft minutes for review, July 14th, 2026. I believe everyone who's on the call, commission members tonight, were at this meeting except for Peggy. So I will ask if anyone has any comments on these minutes. If not, if anyone wants to make a motion to approve them.
Melissa, I was not there. This is Walter Garland.
You were not there.
That was the day I went in the hospital. I know that. So
Okay, well, let me look back at the minutes for a second, because I did look at the attendance and I thought
not if it was the 14th.
Yeah, oh yeah, absent. Okay, Walter's not there. So Ted, Jim, Ed, that's the one. Gotcha. So maybe we should skip these until Ed's here.
Yeah, we got a table until Ed's here.
Yep. Sorry about that, Walter. I knew there was someone on the call. Okay.
No worries.
Then we will continue on to Fowler and Lee, 5 Deneen Road violation discussion continuation. And to start this off, I'll have, I think, Judy present the new materials that were provided to the commission.
Sure, through the chair. So the Conservation Commission issued an enforcement order on June 15th of this year in response to unpermitted tree clearing at 5 Deneen Road. This is a lakefront property. The enforcement order required the owner to submit a wetland delineation, as there was not one on record recently for the property, as well as a stump survey showing all stumps greater than 1.5 inches that were cut. So this has been provided. The stump survey shows several stumps in this sort of lakefront area here, as well as some stumps near a stream crossing past the driveway. So that's in the lower left-hand side of the plan. The species and sizes of each of the stumps are on the right here. So they do total 62 stumps in jurisdictional areas over 1.5 inches. The commission, to review this plan, determine any need for third-party review of the wetland delineation, as well as any next steps regarding restoration. And I believe we do have the owners as well as Joe Marquina on the call, who worked on the plan.
Okay. I guess I'll ask owners or Joe if you have anything you want to add to Judy's overview here of what's being provided.
Yeah, I believe Lee Fowler had a couple of comments she wanted to make.
Okay.
I just wanted folks to realize that the delineation was done by Ecotech Inc., Scott Jordan, and there was an on-the-ground field survey by this office. So this is accurate and up to date. So as you move forward, I think we can rely on what you see here to make any decisions.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Lee, did you want to provide additional comment? You're on mute right now, so we can't hear you. The mute button on. Oh, looks like you got it. Okay.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Oh, what happened? Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm just saying that Larry is had a surgery. He is in the hospital now. So tonight, just me here to present the family. I guess I just want to say that I'm really sorry. And my goal here today is to cooperate and to work with everybody to come up with a restoration plan that can best to repair the affected area. And to be honest, since this happened, I felt sick. It has been, I have to, because it was a mistake that should not have happened. We know better. We always love the environment. We built a house backer than proposed, and we plant the trees between our house and the land. We haven't touched the area for 20 years. And we also did not intentionally ignore the Conservation Commission. We actually went to the office to talk to Judy, asked what is the right thing to do if we wanted to cut some trees, because some trees were kind of dangerous. So we know all that. However, when the time comes, I told the contractor that I'm going to talk to the town, get the permission, then we can start. 3 times I was stopped. And he said he knows the town very well and it was not necessary. I don't know where my brain was, but I was stupid enough to believe. And I'm not shifting the blame. It is my land and my decision. I hired a guy. So I feel stupid. I feel wrong. I just want you guys to know that I have every intention to work with you guys to come up with a plan and repair the damage.
Thank you.
And I have been doing a little bit of study, talking to the people, and learn about the wetland and how to restore the damage and stuff like that. I learned lots of interesting stuff. So, I just want you to know I'm here to work and not trying to get out of it. So.
Oh, thank you for your comments and your honesty, and I'm sorry for the health issues that are going on. I know those are always add to the stress of the situation, but the commission, as commission, I think I can speak for all of us that we do want to just, move forward in a positive direction
Yes.
on this. So with that being said, I guess I will just bring up to the commission. So speaking of the delineation, I think that in the past, when we've had a site like this where we have a previous plan, like an old plan that had shown a delineation, and, the resource area is obviously very clear on this site. There's no real, not too much of a question as to that this was happened in the buffer zone. We've approved or allowed delineation without Joe's review, without a third-party review, I should say, and just accepted the plan without, with the note that we're accepting the plan, but we're not documenting the delineation for like a future project work. So based on that history, kind of that common sense, I feel comfortable accepting the delineation as it is without a third-party review, but I just want to open that up to other commission members if anybody has any thoughts or questions in that regard before we go further with the plan.
Melissa, I'm comfortable with that. Certainly with the note that this doesn't mean future work is covered by that delineation.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I'm comfortable too.
Okay. Great. Then I think we can proceed with that. Joe Marquardon, I do have a question, maybe Judy as well. As far as the stump count goes in these trees, do we feel like this is a list of that they were healthy trees? Are there any that were dead, disease, dying? I don't know that we can tell that or not from the stumps, but I would just be curious to hear how that factors into the list of 62.
From my experience, and I walked the site a couple of times, both areas, the area adjacent to the driveway crossing where the box culvert was installed in 2005, which is that area 2 in the bottom left of that plan that Judy shared a moment ago. And then this area number 1. There's maybe one tree that was not viable. As a pine tree is completely rotten in the area number 2 up by the driveway. And there are a couple of the multi trunk trees that we identified, MT1 through 4, that appear like and they are, the ones I'm referring to are very close to the water's edge, but they appear to have cut off the dead portions, 4-inch in diameter perhaps, and left the healthier, larger 8 to 12-inch tree behind. So in general, there's 2 or 3 that were not completely healthy. The rest of the 60 were.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. And then I'll also just point out to the commission and others watching that the trees that are marked on here, just to be clear, are the ones that were cut down. There are still trees in this area. Those are not identified, and that's fine. We didn't ask for those to be identified, but I just wanted to be clear that there are still trees in this area.
There are lots of trees, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
So I understand that, and just wanted to make sure everyone was on the same page there when we're thinking about the restoration and the work that we're looking for.
Mary,
Melissa?
the comment?
I'll let Jim go first, and then I'll come back to you, Lee, if you don't mind.
Yeah, just a question. We probably have seen these before, but are there some photos of the existing conditions that Judy can put up?
Yeah, Judy, do you mind?
Thank you.
Yeah, these are from May, so they aren't from today, but not much has changed, maybe a little more growth.
All right, so those are some of the trees that are remaining.
Right. Go ahead, Lee. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, we start this with the trees, regarding the trees next to the driveway. We add, Judy asked to add them to the list. Those trees were, quite a few of them were eaten. Those are the reason we start this project, because there are 6 big trees along the driveway. They fell within last year. And I don't know if you can see the picture, but they're on the driveway, and the 6 of them are within the year. This 3 of them, they are still there, but this is all on the driveway. We cut this part, and the police called my daughter in New York and said, you have to do something here. So that's how we start this project. And then the contract examined those trees. Most of them were damaged or eaten by termites or whatever. He said they're not stable, and they're right on the edge of the driveway on the trail. And so I'm very afraid they will fall down and hurt somebody in the trail or on the driveway. As a matter of fact, this big one, my car just passed and this big one fall down. So that's how we started. But when the guy was here, so I asked him, so those are the, you see the fresh cut, but they're damaged, the trees. And there's still a very big one remain because that was too big. I said, just don't touch it. But it was a half hollow. And then when the guy was here, I told him, I said, if you can help me clean some of the, between the house and the lake, then maybe I can see a little bit of water, because we planned probably at least the 50 pine. If you see the list, there are over half is a white pine. And the normal forest doesn't have so many pines. So we planned those because we want more trees. Larry and I, after we built the house, we planned those. But over years, they become very big. So we said, maybe you can clean this a little bit so we can see the water. Then I told him, I left the house. By the time I came home at 6, it was really clean. I was shocked. So at that time, I know we're in big trouble. I know we should not clean as much. So that was the situation. However, the big trees are still remain and not touched. Yeah.
Right. So I think that the next steps here are for the commission to issue a new enforcement order. This is a positive thing. It's a next step. A new enforcement order to have you come back with a restoration plan by a specific date. So we're open to, the commission has some guidelines. We have actually some guidelines that we're working on. They're in draft for when we have situations like this where people want to take down trees or a violation situation. You know, how many trees should be replaced for what was taken down. And Judy has that draft proposal that she can provide to you. And you can look at that and what that does with the tree count that have actually come down and how that might look on your property. There's definitely scenarios when there's a lot of trees taken down where it's hard to plant the same number of trees back when you have, you know, a lot of established trees and tree cover and things like that. So there's some other things in our policy as far as planting maybe some underbrush blueberry bushes, things like this instead of replacing trees in kind that can be considered for restoration and may even be better than planting, just little saplings. So what I would recommend for next steps, and other commission members can weigh in, is that we issue a new enforcement order for you to come back, talk to Judy, and propose a plan. Joe Marquardt can help. He's worked on these before, and propose to us what you could do to kind of reestablish what was there. The other thing that I will throw out there is, in the past, we've had developers who are taking down trees or large tree situations where they propose a conservation restriction as part of the mitigation for planting. That's something that we do sometimes consider and encourage. So instead of having to incur a bunch of expense and whatnot with planting, sometimes it's more advantageous to offer a restriction on an area so that in perpetuity it is kept as forest. And, the commission does like to see that as well. So I think you have some options, and like you said, you were doing some research on your own and learning about, the habitat, the values, things like this. So I'll open it up to other commission members, but that's the next step that I see here, and I think I'm comfortable approving this plan as far as the existing conditions go to move on to that next step. Does anyone on the commission want to share thoughts?
Melissa, sure. May I?
Yeah.
That's a yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let me just go to my question. I agree with everything you said. I have a question, I think, for Joe, because I assume, Joe, you put together this plan. I'm just confused by the approximate tree line markings. They're not quite making sense to me. And Judy, I'm going to try to use the pencil tool. So let's see what happens. Along here, this would indicate to me that the trees in this zone, we don't have any canopy cover. Although we were just told that there are still trees there, that it hasn't been cleared. But that's what that tree line would indicate to me. This one is right along the lakefront. And yet this suggests that this area has been cleared. So I'm kind of struggling to understand what the tree line markings mean, Joe.
Sure.
And then Judy, if you want to erase my lines, feel free.
Go ahead, Joe.
I'm impressed with the way to do that.
What we were tasked to do was to locate the trees that were cut. And we introduced some of these features to make it a little easier to grasp what was happening out there. So for instance, you see the footpath, you see those timber logs that were used to line the path down from Lee's home. What we did not do was pick up the trees that were left behind. As Judy shared in a photo a few moments ago, there are some sizable trees that were left as part of the view shed from Lee's home. So you'll see the path, you'll see the trees. We did not bother picking up the trees that are still there, just the ones that were lost. So when you get down to the water's edge, for instance, there's still a shrub line, high bush blueberries, some clethra, that sort of thing that still exists. So that's the limit that we left. There is still some brush there that in our minds was the limit of this site clearing, if you will. That came out in quotes. The limit of what was cleared, there is still something along the edges that exists because our focus was on trees lost, not on trees left.
So maybe my confusion is just it's a confusing label associated with the kind of squiggly tree line.
I guess the goal was to allow the commission to appreciate how many trees were lost, but not get the impression that Lee's group went right down to the water or right down to the BVW edge. There was a limit where they stopped, and I have to imagine the rest of it was too low, didn't interrupt the sight line, wasn't something that tree clearing crew thought should come out. So there is some brush, there is some vegetation there, and that's the reason for the line we chose.
I don't think, thank you, Joe. I don't think any of that impacts my thoughts on moving on to the next step, so I don't want to belabor it. But I would just wonder if, for the records, if it would be clearer if even that tree line were not indicated, because at least the way I read the plan, it paints a picture that's not quite true in the way that I read it. And I don't know that it's necessary for counting the trees that need to be replaced. But you're a professional in the world, Joe, and if you and Judy are comfortable with it, then I am fine too.
Ted, I had a question on too, through you, Melissa.
Yep.
Is where it says the line that's demarcating existing wooded area, that is what's remaining near the shore. Is that correct?
Correct. 3 or 4 feet wide, all low shrubs, and maybe 6 or 8 larger trees, 6 to 10 inch diameter.
So if a plan had come in, you know, not about cutting in violation, but if a plan had come in to do some work, the existing wooded area would have been closer to the log path, I'll say, right? It would have been a different approximate tree line?
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yep.
Okay. Okay, well, I hope that helps, Ted, but I'm ready to move forward.
Melissa, through the chair.
Yes, Walter.
Being a resident of the lake and concerned about the view of how this appears from the lake, it's a very big eyesore right now, and I would hope, or if we could add to the instruction that the homeowner's plan include some rapid growing type trees, hemlocks or stuff like that would quickly restore the view shed. If you look at the one picture that I think Judy had looking from the lake, you can see the big gap going up the hill. I think if they focused a number of fast growing types of trees, and I'm sure an arborist, yeah, right there, that's a great shot. If they could do something to make sure that view shed is restored as quickly as possible. I'm not as concerned about what's going up the hill, but I know it's a big open sore as you go down the lake and look there. So I would like to suggest that we require something like that. So a plan that includes rapid restoration of the view shed from the lake, at least, say 20 feet back or something from the water line up to 20 feet inland. Because it wouldn't take much in a fast growing perspective to help restore the view shed. So that's my input.
Yeah, I think when presenting a restoration plan, it doesn't, and I would encourage, working with someone who has experience with this and with plantings and landscaping and things like that, because, plants that are closer to the water, and providing that we talk a lot about the buffer and how important that is right along the waterfront. That might present a little differently than what you do further up the hill as far as what plants are. So I think to Walter's point, keeping that in mind, and the plan that will need to be presented to the commission for restoration should be detailed and have, numbers of plantings and density and things like this. And Judy can certainly help with that, because there are guidelines and things available for that.
Through the chair?
Yes, Joe.
And pardon my ignorance, but the guidelines you mentioned a moment ago, is the expectation that a certified arborist will have to weigh in on that, or can we rely on folks that have vast experience in plant growth, plantings, and what we need to recreate this this area. Do we need to move to that level where we involve an arborist?
Personally, I would say someone with professional expertise. I wouldn't limit it to a arborist, but
Okay.
Judy, do you want to weigh in?
Through the chair, I mean, Melissa, I
Yes.
agree with what Joe was saying. I think, much like a construction plan that has to be signed off by a professional engineer, I think having our arborist sign off on this is a plan that will ensure like a rapid return of the view shed on the lake. And as you said, not so much focusing on what's up behind it, but restoring what everybody else that uses the lake enjoys. So I think an arborist a certified arborist would be able to do something like that.
Yeah, I guess I don't know personally all the credentials that are out there for, like I'm thinking a landscape architect. I'm thinking professionals as in someone who is licensed and has, the expertise. I guess I'll ask others who might have more experience of whether an arborist is the right person. I don't want to block it in and eliminate other professionals that also have the qualifications to make sure they're doing what we're looking for.
Through the chair. Go ahead, Jim.
Jim Serla.
I was going to say that I don't feel like it rises to the level of an arborist. We have landscape architects in town and perhaps others who have experience in doing, especially work around the lake. And there's really kind of a limited variety of things to put out there anyway. It's not like you have 100 different species to choose from. So I don't know. I'm not sure it rises to the level of an arborist.
My concern was, are we going to then be pushed down an avenue with folks who are more well-versed on insects and tree growth and success from mature trees? Everybody has a strength in any profession, and I didn't want to involve an arborist that may not be as well-versed in where to place what and what would succeed in these conditions. So I guess I kind of wanted it to be broader if that was an option.
Yep. Joe Orzel, I'm going to just turn to you for a minute and see if you have any thoughts on this.
Yeah, I think landscape architect would be an appropriate professional, or anyone who has experience in designing restorations. I don't know that necessarily an arborist is the right person, but could be. But I think the landscape architect would be the title that comes to mind first.
Okay. So, Lee, is that enough guidance? And maybe when you're looking at who you want to engage, or Joe Marquardt, you as well, when you have these conversations, if you want to present someone, I think you probably know who are the people to talk to, but you can certainly reach out to Judy, reach out to us, and we can give you a thumbs up if you like. Make sure we're on the same page before you go down a road.
Okay, I talked to Joe and I talked to Scott, which is the ecotech expert who did delineation.
Mm-hmm.
And I also talked to my landscaped guy who plants a lot of things here. And I did some AI research. So I do have some ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, that's beyond my expertise. So I relied on other people to. I can talk to Joe some more and Judy, and I'm sure we can pull something together. And I'll show some experts to see if they feel we should search for some more other professionals but I think I got a good ideas of how to proceed and talk to different people, finally come up with something.
Okay. Does that answer your concern, Walter? Walter? I'm gonna assume so, or I'm sure Walter would chime in again.
To the chair.
Yes, Judy?
Did you want to include a proposed PIB on the restoration plan?
Yes.
Something
That
you
is a
want
good
to see
idea.
on a plan?
That is a good idea. I'm not sure where right now, but I think it would be a good idea to try and include that the app that Lee should include that.
What is that?
Permanent immovable barrier. So typically we put those up along areas where we want to notify homeowners and other people that there's resource areas, and that they can't cut trees, they can't do things beyond that limit of work. It shows up on the plan usually as well, on the restoration plan. And usually like in this situation where you have a lot of trees, a lot of times it'll be a medallion, which Judy has in her office. It's just like a marker and it says conservation area, and you put it on the trees just to notify people of the resource areas and the buffer zones.
Okay, so just some signs and
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, sure. PIB. Okay.
PIB. Yep. Joe Marcoton is familiar with those and how we show them on the plans. So.
Okay.
Melissa, as our timekeeper, I want to let you know we are over 30 minutes into this particular item.
Okay. I guess we'll do a last call for any other short questions, comments from the commission in regards to the restoration plan.
Melissa, I'll just ask this. Do we need to vote on accepting this plan, or do we wait and vote on the whole thing?
I think we do vote on this, right, Judy?
You would vote on a new enforcement order, but you don't have to vote on this plan in particular. In the new enforcement order, I usually include a note stating that the owner is in compliance with the original enforcement order, having produced the requirements. So you don't have to vote to like close this out or anything.
Okay.
In that case, are you looking for a motion to issue the new enforcement order for development of a planting plan?
I would call it a restoration plan.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to issue a new enforcement order regarding submitting a restoration plan with signatures by Judy and Anna.
I'd like to make a friendly amendment to allow signatures.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought I threw that at the end, but thanks, Ted.
Judy, do we need to add a date for that, or is that something that you'll work in when you write the enforcement order?
You might want to. So for a planting plan, if we're looking at meeting dates and deadlines, restoration plan, sorry.
That's okay.
September 30th is the deadline for the October 20th meeting. That would give them a little over a month to put this plan together. So I think if Lee and if you're working with Joe, if you all think you can get that plan in about a month, we can aim for the meeting in October.
Yeah, I think that'll work.
Okay, if Joe think it work, I will agree. And I don't really, yeah, okay.
So we'll write in that it has to be provided by September 30th to be discussed on October 20th. If you'd like to so amend the motion, Jim.
So amended.
All in favor? Jim,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
Peggy,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
and I am also an aye. Okay. So thank you for working with us, Lee, and we'll see you back in October.
Oh, September, right? October, what's the date?
So the meeting will be in October, but you'll need to provide the plans in advance so that we can review them.
October when was the next meeting?
20th?
October 20th. Okay. Review meeting, okay.
Yep. And so the plan set, you'll need to submit the restoration plan by September 30th. We like to see the plan in advance of the meeting so that we can look at it and be prepared to discuss it. If we have any
And
comments.
the only other alternative is, Melissa, is their submission by September 9 for the 9/29 meeting, right?
You could always submit it earlier. Yes.
So,
Well, but I don't know if they could submit it by the 9th, but that would be their only other alternative.
Right.
submit by September 30th and prepare for October 20th meeting, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And you're free to talk to Judy in the meantime and get feedback as well.
Okay. You said that Judy have some plans, ideas, her already, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll be following up with you, Lee.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
Thanks.
All right. Let's jump up to the continued hearings. So next up, we have 28 South Mill Street, notice of intent, continuation of a septic system. All right. Judy, do you want to reintroduce this project?
Sure, through the chair. There's my notes. So this is a notice of intent for replacement of a septic system at 28 South Mill Street. At the last meeting, the commission determined they wanted additional riverfront and resource area in the sort of southeast corner of the property added to the plan, just for the record, showing that there's additional resource area here and to justify the placement of a few additional PIBs. So we did a little offline discussion about using approximate locations of these resource areas using GIS, just to reduce a little bit of the burden on the homeowner. We had asked for a plan note stating that this was not based on a field survey. So these lines have been added. The PIB has been extended in this southeast corner as well as all the way around the property, wrapping around the existing barn. And we did send this to Joe Orzel, who has looked at it. So I would pass it to him for his comments on the revised materials.
Thank you. Joe?
The revised plan looks good as far as the locations of the riverfront area and the buffer zone. So I don't have any issue with that. They also added the buffer zone from bordering land subject to flooding. That also looks good. A couple of minor items just for the conservation to discuss. I don't know if it was decided or at the last meeting or enough detail was presented on how the applicant proposes to deal with the running bamboo that's growing on the site. So that's just an item to possibly revisit. And again, I think it was discussed at the last hearing, and I believe it was stated that no trees were going to be cut. And just recommend the applicant confirm that. And just note that the additional PIBs have been added to the plan, and that would be for the Conservation Commission to discuss the locations of those. Other than that, I think it looks good.
Great. So to one of those points, Maury, are you on the line?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So there was one question just to confirm that there's no trees coming down or anticipated.
Right. There may be some branches cut,
Yep.
but no trees.
Okay. And then the bamboo discussion, I believe was that it was going to be buried and everything was going to be kept on site. There was no material that was going to be taken off site.
Correct.
Okay. And I see the PIBs. I'll open it up to other commission members to see if anyone has any follow-up questions, comments based on the last meeting's discussion.
Melissa, I looked at this and it all looks adequate and appropriate to me.
Okay.
Melissa, this looks great to me, and I thank the applicant for taking an extra meeting to clean up the plans.
Great. All right, with that being said, can I get a motion to approve this plan with signatures by Judy Arana?
I'll make that motion.
I'm happy to second.
All right, all in favor, Jim,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
and I am also an aye. So thank you, Maury, for coming back in, and good luck.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye. All right, next up we have 360 Wood Street, notice of intent, continuation for a septic. I'm going to turn it over to you again, Judy, to just give us an update.
Sure, through the chair. So since the last meeting on the 11th, we've received revised plans as well as the BBW field data forms that were missing for wetlands B and C. PIBs were added, a few in front of wetland A here. And the approximate location of the natural heritage estimated habitat of rare wildlife layer was added to the plan. So commission members could see the rough proximity of the work to this layer. So the limit of work in the dotted line, and then the lighter dotted line is the natural heritage layer. So the work is outside, but it does fall on the property. I would note that this section of the natural heritage layer seems to be proposed to be removed by natural heritage. So I did ask them for more information about that. But there is a draft revised map online right now for public comment that doesn't show this layer on there. So I think that's something to consider in terms of the discussion about whether natural heritage gets notified of this work. And then I think one of the outstanding comments was regarding whether the few healthy trees that are being removed will be accounted for in replacement plantings. Joe did also look at the revisions here in case he has any other additional comments.
Okay. I'll turn it over to you, Joe. Do you have additional comments?
Just a couple of items. DEP had made a comment regarding wetland A. And whether it was confirmed that there's no wetland contributing to the catch basin or to the culvert that discharges to wetland A. I did not inspect that catch basin across the street. Based on topo, it doesn't look like it, but if the applicant has that information, that would be something good to provide. Either way, it's protected, whether it's isolated or bordering under the bylaw, and still has the buffer. There were a couple of comments. The note has been added to the plan stating that the trash and debris that were noted near wetland flag B2 would be removed and a photograph taken. So that's something for the commission to discuss or to add to any conditions. There was no comment provided regarding how the Oriental bittersweet is to be treated. I think that was again discussed at the last meeting. I just didn't see anything in writing about how the that invasive species was going to be addressed. As was stated, the estimated habitat line has been added. And again, the commission to discuss any appropriate mitigation for cutting of trees. The delineation forms that were submitted for wetlands B and C, were okay. The conclusions were accurate, and as I had stated before, I agreed with the delineation. PIBs have been added to the plan. I know it doesn't appear that there are any along the northern edge of disturbance or along wetland A. That's something for the Conservation Commission to discuss. And I think that covers my comments.
What was that last one, Joe, for commission discuss along wetland A? You said?
PIBs, whether any PIBs should go in the vicinity of wetland A.
So there's a couple proposed there, but you're saying?
I don't know that there are any. Oh, okay, there is one there. I see it now. Yep.
Okay.
I missed those actually when I was looking at that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. All right. On the connection, or I don't even want to say potential, but the isolated wetland, if there was a wetland connected, we have a buffer on there. It wouldn't change that buffer zone, right?
Correct.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And I guess I'll just ask Dave if you have anything to say on that.
Yeah, so we had just expand on those PIBs.
Yep.
We have 6 PIBs shown between Wetland A and the south side of the driveway. We did a small modification down by the southeast corner of the existing house to pull it away from that habitat area a little bit further. So that's represented. With regard to the catch basin across the street, that catch basin appears to capture mostly road runoff. House number, I think it's house number like 46, 48, 50 in the Rockywood subdivision is the nearest house closest to that catch basin. The rear of that line is neighboring a 100-foot open space link between the back of the lots and the sideline of Wood Street. I was there today, took some pictures today. My opinion, there's no wetland at all contributing to that catch basin. To give you some idea, there we go. To give you some idea, from that catch basin, going kind of in a northeast direction to the nearest spot of grading on our septic, we're 203 feet away. And then from that same catch basin to the limit of work at the southeast corner of the house, we're at 215. So we're well outside that area. It doesn't pertain to our proposed activity. So I hope that will put that matter to bed.
Yeah, that looks like it slopes up pretty steep there too. So yeah, no, that makes sense to me. Okay.
We had talked about, we had 5 trees before, 4 of which were dead. We were cutting a pine tree. The commission at last meeting asked us to replace that with 2 trees. We have shown that on our plan. 2 pitch pines are proposed adjacent to the abutting, to the buffer zone. Kind of, yeah, here we go. Yep, those 2 little darkened figurines are locations of our 2 pitch pines, which is on your list. And we talked previously about the stockpile area. We talked about the PIBs, the 9 of them along the eastern edge of the system and in between Wetland B. So I think with regard to the bittersweet, we made a mention before last time that we were going to remove that and treat that with a herbicide. It's a limit of work, it goes right through that, and the intention all the way along was to get that removed.
Okay. Can you just identify, we were talking about the PIBs and over by the new trees that are being planted, there's a lot of dots going on. Where's the PIB over where that grading?
We right now we don't show any.
Okay, so we stop at that one by the number 26. Okay.
Yeah, we could add some if the board would make that a condition. We could attach some PIBs to those existing trees that we have labeled. Perhaps tree number 35 would be a good spot. Tree number 32, tree number 29 would be probably acceptable spots for PIBs just outside the limit of work.
Okay, I think I'd appreciate if you could do that.
Yep.
And I think I'd be comfortable conditioning that to add, I'd say three or four, but can work with Judy on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Melissa.
Yes, Jim.
What's the dark hashed mark? Dark hashed line? I thought that was. Is that the limits of work?
The hatch line along the right side of the plan, Jim,
Yeah.
is the limit of work. The limit of work on the north side of the system goes uphill, so we didn't feel that erosion was required. That's pitching back towards the system, and then it'll ultimately get caught if needed by that erosion control on the east.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I see that now. Yeah.
Okay. Great, that makes sense. As far as the natural heritage piece of it, I think being that it's kind of minor activity over there in that corner and it is showing outside the line, I am okay with no notification for this particular scenario. And I think with the conditions of adding those couple PIBs, removing the trash and providing pictures to Judy.
Yep.
And then, Judy, do we have any standard conditions for the bittersweet during construction? I know, because that wasn't actually written down anywhere, right, Dave? How you're going to treat it, or do we have that documented?
Right. We didn't write it anywhere. That's right.
Okay. So, Judy, do we have a typical condition, or would we want to condition that they provide that in writing, what we discussed in the meeting?
Yeah, I think we have one that relates to use of fill that doesn't include invasive plant material, but nothing in terms of treatment. So I think we can either workshop one or require some sort of narrative be provided that's in line with what was discussed in the hearing.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Commission members, does anyone have anything to add or any additional comments?
No, not me.
Anyone from the public? See any hands or anything? Can I get a motion to go ahead and approve this plan with the conditions we discussed? Or I just listed out there.
I'll move.
And
I'll make that
signatures.
motion. Well, with signatures by Anna and
Or
Judy.
Judy.
Second.
Or Judy.
All right. All in favor? Jim?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is not.
Peggy?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have 115 Wood Street, notice of intent. This is a continuation, but I believe that at the last meeting, it was opened and immediately continued. So this will be our first presentation on the project. So,
Melissa,
yes, Ted.
before we launch again, in my role as timekeeper, I'll just let you know if we hit 20 minutes. It doesn't mean we have to end it there, but just to keep my eye on the watch.
That's great. Thank you, Ted.
Sure.
So Judy, I'll turn it over to you to just kind of, I guess, open up the project.
Sure. So this is a notice of intent to raise and replace an existing building at 115 Wood Street. Well, the plans, here they are. So this, there's been some back and forth with Lucas Environmental already on some comments on the plans and the submission. And also to note for the commission that we have PAR conducting third-party review for the stormwater plans, and we do not have comments from them yet. This project has been issued a DEP file number though at this time. So I think I'll keep it brief and pass it back to you, Melissa.
Okay. And I understand we have a team here for the applicant.
That's correct. Glenn Krawowski from EBT Environmental Consultants.
Welcome.
Thank you. The engineer should be online also.
Yeah, this is Imad Zurain from Develop Zurain, the professional civil engineer.
Welcome.
And the project proponent representative is also Davud online.
Great. Welcome.
Thank you.
And this is Mahmood Jaffrey, one of the trustees of the Masumeen Charitable Trust in the public road.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
Would one of you like to take the lead on presenting the project to us?
Is Davud here, or I can give you an overview of the property and the project. We acquired this property in 1995. It was a house of worship, and we acquired it as a house of worship and kept the use the same as a house of worship. Over the years, the community has not grown exponentially as one would expect, simply because the demographics is as such that people sort of come and leave, and a lot of our members are in the high tech and engineering and that arena, small business owners, young professionals. But one of the key reasons for us to redo the building is because of simply the age of the building. I think it has served its useful life. It's almost 100 years old. And the project that we are proposing is a purpose-built building, keeping in mind public safety and the aesthetics. One of the concerns that we had, and I think we have addressed that, is that we wanted the building to represent our surroundings and the architecture of where we are living and what's appropriate. So we did not make it too ethnic or too specific to an Islamic architecture, if you would. So it really has a contemporary flair to it, which sort of fits in to the culture of the community that we live and we serve. The key point is that it's perhaps not triggered by the growth in the community, but more so by the safety and the use. It has served its useful use, and then we needed to make it more safe and more appealing.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Then I guess I'll ask, maybe Ahmad, were you the engineer?
I'm the engineer. I think Glenn will lead off with just talk a little bit about the notice of intent filing and what have you, and then I could go over the site plan.
Okay, perfect. Glenn.
Thank you very much. We delineated the wetlands back on 3/24/24. Lucas did have some comment on the wetland line as 2 years, 6 months went by. A few of the flags, quite a few of the flags have fallen to the ground. I was out there today. I did find some still attached. There was some comment on, because the flags are generally still there, it's an Arctic ribbon. They didn't go too far. It's a very distinct line. I did use soils also along with vegetation to delineate it. Soils vegetation hydrology. We believe they, as I recall on their report, that they agreed on the wetland line. So we first would start with that. We then ensured we had the tree line on the plans. And the commission wanted the trees on the plan. We added the trees to the plan. There's a comment on the Japanese knotweed, which is on the western side of the site. We did outline that, and we have contacted Ruby Environmental, as you have brought up in earlier cases, exotic invasive and how they're being controlled. And as we know, the knotweed or Asiatic knotweed is a tough one to kill, and just fragments of the roots can spread. So we're working with, again, a Ruby Environmental, which is a DOT recognized applicator of herbicide. We did talk to, I believe, Judy, and that it can be allowed in your town. We find that it might be the best way to remove it. We have seen some very good success recently on a redevelopment of Route 20 in the last 2 years here in Oxford, Charlton, where it's very successful, the product they're using. And so we propose to use that product to first kill it. They recommend that it's done during this flowering time of the year, the latter part here of summer into fall. We're hoping that we can move along with that removal. The applicant's architect or engineer did design and show a construction sequence, and the one thing that would come in later on the construction sequence would be the swale to make sure we kill this before we start moving that soil, again, because of its easy spread with fragments. As far as the environment, your 50-foot zones, your 75-foot zones, the engineer did move out their discharge point for their infiltrator and moved it outside of the 50-foot zone. There were still 2 gratings in there. I might also recommend, as I brought up earlier tonight when we talked to the engineer and the proponent's representative, that we might put a jute netting on the slope to the rear of the building, which would be called to the south, to ensure that that 2-to-1 slope is stabilized before we let it go. So a jute netting, again, tackifier seed and jute netting stapled in to ensure that small slope is staying intact. We did do stream stat here and show that the stream to the rear, it does come off of McIntyre's property, is well in the intermittent category, 1.18 square miles drainage. And it's rating, I won't go back into my stream stat, but it's information we supplied to you and the Lucas Environmental. And they did supply comments today, August 25th. And they acknowledge some points, but I'll acknowledge that there is more to be done. A few items, quite a few are marked off as they have concluded on the comments, but there are still comments to be had. As the wetland consultant working with the engineer, we will continue to work with those and then the engineer will wait to hear what PAR says on stormwater. The septic system is well outside the 100-foot buffer zone. There was some comments on that. That'd be a Board of Health issue, I believe, because of where it is outside jurisdiction, I believe I could say. The latest plans are 7/15/26. And again, there is encroachment. There was some discussion in the plans about the tree removal, the type of trees. I believe we've identified, there was a comment that 3 of the trees weren't identified. I believe we have, I could be incorrect, but I believe we have all the trees identified, the species and the diameter. And hearing your earlier comments on other projects, if there are any other comments on replacement, we would like to talk to Judy and see whether it be bushes or saplings of like species and species that don't have any diseases that are coming in. I know there was some discussion earlier about hemlock and Not that we have it here, but we would stay away from it because of the woolly adelgia and some other species that are now becoming more susceptible, such as some of the birches and the American beech and things. It's interesting that this site does have black walnut on it. It's not white walnut. And we've confirmed that by the nut and its shape. And so that's an interesting species to have. No rare species outlined. And I'll ask for any questions on my part for me, and then the engineer will take over.
Thank you. Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you.
For the record, my name is Imad Zurain from Develop Zurain, professional civil engineer. Judy, if you could bring up the existing condition plan, I'd like to at least go through that first. As Mr. Jeffrey stated earlier, it's an existing mosque that's outlived its age, and the proposal is to demo it and build a new facility with a new parking lot. If you go to the next page, the grading, yeah. So we looked at the stormwater for the site. The site sits pretty much the building sits on like a knoll, with the front of the building drains to Wood Street, and the side and the building itself, and the back of the building drains to the wetland. So we have two watersheds contributing to either Wood Street or the wetland. So we try to basically mimic that. And we're proposing the new building with about 86 parking spaces. The existing parking lot currently has no stormwater mitigation. Most of the water just sheets either to the street or to the wetland and treated. There's no curbing. The parking lot just sheets right to the wetland. With the new proposal, we're picking up all the runoff from the parking lot with catch basins, deep sumps and hoods, and directing it into a underground recharge system that's located at the low end of the site. We've done some test pits out there to locate the groundwater elevations, as well as identify or classify the soil for the stormwater design. The roadway that access to the McIntyre property, most of it does drain into our site, which creates an issue for us. That's one of the reasons we're creating a swale along the west side of our parking lot, basically to eliminate the impact from the McIntyre and just have that directed into the wetland as it currently does. Going through the design calculations, we're tremendously decreasing the runoff, cleaning the water before it gets to the wetland. The stormwater is located outside the 50-foot. We do have to locate the outlet control or the flare end less than 50 feet because to be able to daylight the elevations and be able to have a positive drainage into the wetland. The slope itself that we show 2-to-1 on the sedimentation erosion control plan, we do call for anything that's steeper than 3-to-1 to have jute netting stapled right on the slope. So we've already thought about that. The septic system, we are, like Glenn mentioned, the leaching system is located outside the buffer zone, but the septic tank and the pump chambers, given where the low end of the site, we have to locate it within the 50-foot. That area is currently lawn space. So most of the grading that we're doing is currently already disturbed, except for the swale and the west end of that area that's currently undisturbed. The majority of the site that we're disturbing is currently either lawn or parking space. With that, if you have any questions, we're happy to answer. We do have also on staff Rebecca Bashan from RBLA. She's a landscape architect. In case there's any questions, or she'll be developing a landscape plan for the site that we'll be filing with the planning board and with you guys if you wish.
Okay. Thank you. I do have a question on the septic system. Do you anticipate being able to use the existing system?
Yes, the current leaching, we've looked at historical water use for the building and over about 10 years period, and taking that, averaging that out and multiplying that by 200% as required by Title V, we're way under what the system is designed for. We are replacing the tank and the pump chamber because the new building will fall on top of them. That's the reason we're adding the septic tank. But the leaching field is adequate to support the facility based on historical water use that we got from the town.
Okay. So you just need to go through the process of getting that approved by Board of Health.
Correct. We have to do an inspection, file an inspection report, and do a septic plan for the Board of Health.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to ask Joe Orzel if you wanted to highlight any of your comments for the commission at this time. And I believe there's some waivers that might be needed, so that would be appreciated if you have notes on those.
Sure. There were several items that the applicant indicated would be included on a final plan. I'm not going to go through each of those, but those should be made sure that those are on the final plan when that comes around. One of the items was noted that a invasive species plan will be submitted. It sounded like they may be planning on doing some treatment soon. I would recommend, if that's the case, that some type of narrative plan be submitted to the Conservation Commission for review sooner than later, if they are looking to start treating the knotweed soon. They had noted that some trash had been removed where I had indicated it was located along the wetland edge. I would recommend that some photographs of that cleanup be submitted for the record. As far as the waiver request, the parking lot has been pulled back outside of the 75-foot buffer from the BVW. There is still some work proposed within 75 feet. And that includes the stormwater structures and grading, as well as the septic system, tank and other components, and a grease trap. So the commission to discuss whether those require a waiver also. There's also a small amount of grading proposed within 50 feet of the BVW. I had previously recommended that the applicant provide a narrative describing how the project meets the performance standards under the bylaw. That comment remains. The trees that were mentioned as far as being cut, the 3 trees, I didn't see an actual text of the species, but the symbols appear to be all pine trees. And based on their size, 3.6 foot diameter, 2.2 foot diameter, and 1.2 foot diameter, I assume those are all eastern white pine. So the commission to discuss any mitigation for cutting of those. I'd also recommended that the erosion control barrier be extended further up along the swale proposed on the west end of the property, just to delimit the limit of work. The applicant had indicated also that the proposed lighting is night sky compliant, which is good. And I think that pretty much covers my comments. There were several comments from Mass DEP. And some of those were addressed. Some of those had to do with stormwater, which Ellie is not reviewing. But with respect to one of the comments regarding a snow storage area, the applicant had stated that the final plans will be revised to show that. And with respect to an updated O&M plan, one was submitted. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. With respect to the comment on BVW forms sheets being provided, they were submitted with the application, so that has been addressed. There are some stormwater comments from DEP, which the commission should discuss. And that covers my comments.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Through the chair, Glenn Kowalski.
Yes.
If you can. Just small stuff. The trash, as being there today, a majority of the trash was removed. We're going to address these issues, the sinks and a couple of other items. Where we took photos back on 3/24/24 as the leaves were down of any existing trash. We will say that although trash was removed, we're going to ensure that when we're working, any additional material that's found out there along that tree woodland line will be removed. I saw some plastic today, a piece I threw out, but very minor on trash. As far as there is an existing conditions plan, which will make sure that it's clear, that does show the tree species and the size. We'll bring that forward. We'll make sure to highlight that because we did locate and describe all species that were along this both sides of the east and west side that we were adjacent to, size and species. So we want to make sure that we give that the consultant sees that, the peer review sees that. And that's all from me for now. Thank you.
Okay.
Melissa, as promised, I'm just jumping in to say we just passed the 20-minute mark, just to give you a heads up.
Okay, I was waiting for that, Ted.
I wanted to give Mr. Krivosky a chance to finish his comments.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nope, that's great. And this was a great intro or description to the project. Obviously, you know, there's still some work to be done on addressing Joe's comments, and we'll be eager to see the peer review from PAR on the stormwater side. I guess I'll open it up to commission members if anyone has anything in particular you have questions about or wanted to talk about, knowing that, you know, we'll be back here with more information to come.
Melissa, I have one question for us. Given the, you know, the sort of time sensitive or the time of year for the Japanese knotweed mitigation, will we be able to, you think, separate that from everything else so that they could proceed with that? I guess we can't do it tonight because we need a plan, but once we get the plan, could we separate that out and let them get going on that?
Yeah, Judy, can you speak to that as far as what the responsibility is if we're just treating for invasives on a site?
Yeah, so I think it makes sense to have Joe take a look at the invasives plan. Depending on where it is, we have exempted invasive work before, as long as it's not like directly in the wetland. That is something we've done outside of a full permit application before, so should be able to do that.
Okay. Glenn, I don't know if you want to comment on that. The way you described it, it seemed like it was on kind of the southwest side outside of the buffer.
Thank you very much. It is confined from the tree line in the west to the outer edge of the swale, thank you, which would be more west of the swale, directly west. And we outlined it as 4,000 square feet. And we did describe it to the Ruby Environmental that along where most of the sunlight hits, which would be on the eastern side of the western side of the site, but the eastern tree line, east of the directly at the tree line, that's where this product is 5 and 6 feet high. Within the trees, it's down to 2 to 3 feet and diminished. So that's where it is. We will say that there would be some going over towards McIntyre. But when we read the comment, it was not so much to eliminate it. There was a question by our engineer. It was more to not spread it. So we were going to treat it. We will supply a plan. We already started creating that, and from the work that we did today, and then back in the office, so we can show you and work with Ruby to get that the maintenance of how we're going to proceed with it. We can run that through pretty quick in a few days and get a draft over to the board, and that is where it is. There's none on the eastern side, and we're not going. The lawn is to the southern side, and we're not over in that lawn, and it's diminished in that lower southern end. It's mostly again on that western side, for not doing it where we're digging.
Okay. So it sounds like a plan is in motion to provide something and Judy can take a look and give it a maybe administrative okay, and if not, then obviously she'll bring it to the board. But am I on track there?
That'd be great.
Sound good? Okay.
One last thing to say on that through chair. We're quite a distance away from the wetland at that point. We'd be over 50 wetland within.
Okay.
Melissa, I have a follow-up question for Glenn.
Sure.
I apologize if I missed this, but what is the chemical to be used?
I am not the person that's treating, but it is, from what I understand, the glyphosate. I mean, we've had different comments on it and review, but that's what DOT is using. They were super effective on it on Route 20 on this redevelopment, and I've noted it. And then I've talked to people. We just looked at something in Milton, and it's also being used up there. So it has to do with the concentration. But I was concerned with it also, but because of the distance from the wetland, we were hoping that the contractor, Ruby Environmental, can give you more information on that.
Yeah, I'm not concerned with it. I want to know what it is so I can use it. Glyphosate? Is that what it was?
Glyphosate. Well, we're going to supply that tomorrow to the board, so that you can give it to you, maybe.
Yeah, maybe Judy can distribute that. Ed might be interested as well. As our kind of resident invasive.
I think we all are.
Member.
Yeah.
Yes, we all are. All right, cool. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
One quick thing, I don't remember, you might have mentioned it, Joe. I might have missed it. I don't see any PIBs on the plan. If that's not in Joe Orzel's letter as a comment, then the commission likes to see on plans PIBs, which are permanent movable barriers, which are markers along the limit of work or the final kind of demarcation of limit of activity on the site to protect the resource area and the buffer.
Julie, do you have a C1? Can you show C1? We actually do. We do show that there's an existing fence out there that's sitting at the edge of the lawn, and we're going to keep that fence and extend it.
Okay.
To outside the work. It's a 6-foot chain link fence.
Okay. That's great.
That keeps everything, even snow dumping, anything.
Okay. Yep, that looks good. I think we would just, Judy, I think the comment might be to just memorialize it as the PIB, that is acting as the PIB.
We'll call it that, yeah.
So it's in our, in our language.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, great. Any other comments from commission members at this point in time?
Melissa, I have a question that actually is outside of the Conservation Commission's purview, but it might be helpful. One of the things that caught my ear early on is that the existing building is 100-ish years old. Have you guys gone to the Historical Commission to let them know of your proposal to raise the building?
the environmental people, Glenn Kowalski, we haven't, but we've seen this in other places. And if that's a requirement, we'll look into it directly tomorrow.
I think that will be an important step. My wife
Thank you.
in the other room used to serve on the historical commission, and I excused myself for a moment to ask whether that 100-year rule applied to all buildings or just residential buildings. And she thinks it applies to all buildings. And it might be 75 years. I now can't remember. But she thinks that this particular building would absolutely need historical commission permission for it to be raised. So just to let you know, that might be something you want to jump on earlier than later.
Thank you. Thank you for flagging it. We'll check it out.
You're welcome. Melissa, I don't know if you're looking for early feedback on the plans or if we want to put that off for another meeting.
Sure, Ted. Yeah.
I guess as I look at it, my biggest immediate concern is an erosion control that looks like I'm just eyeballing 25 yards from the wetland, and a fence that, if it's being proposed as a PIB, is one stride away from the wetland. Even if that is currently lawn, I find it difficult to approve of allowing erosion controls that close and then ultimately memorializing the edge of the permanent and movable barrier that close to the wetlands. I know that the parking lot has already been shrunk. I see where the building is. I appreciate that almost none of the building is within the 100-foot buffer, but it's the extra work that gets me concerned, particularly as you move along the fence. We have a very steep grade down to the wetlands. So even though it's further away, right at the edge of that fence, it starts to go downhill very steeply. So that section of the project leaves me fairly concerned. And I wonder if there's a way to shift the building, to shift things so that we can get a little bit further away from the wetland, and maybe shorten some of what is currently lawn to allow a bigger buffer between where folks are and where the wetland is.
Yeah, I guess just to spin off of that, Ted, perhaps when you talk to the landscape architect and are putting together that plan and talk to Judy and mitigation for trees coming down, maybe there's some potential to do some planting in that area and restore, like Ted said, in that area to extend that buffer, the permanent condition of the buffer. Closer to the work area. Just a thought.
If through the chairwoman,
yes,
the consultant did discuss that.
Okay.
So thank you. We'll look even harder now with the engineer on it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good comment, Ted. Thanks. Anyone else? Anyone from the public? Okay, hearing none at this time. So we'll look for a motion to continue this out, and I'm just looking for our next meeting dates to see what will work for you all. The next one we have is September 15th, and after that, September 29th. Would you like to request to continue to either of those dates?
To the consultant, to the chairwoman, I would like to ask the client, the engineer, if that's enough time for them to, the 15th might be soon. I know that the people, the proponents want to move on this project. We will move on the knotweed, but I believe that as far as the consultant, we could see the 15th, but I'm not sure if that's enough time.
I think that's enough, Glenn. 15 should be fine.
Okay, there we go.
Judy, do you have any indication on when we might hear back from PAR on the stormwater?
Yeah, they were aiming for like roughly September 9th. And we do in general ask for materials from applicants a week in advance just for everyone to have time to look at them. So the meeting's on September 15th, but we'd need any revisions by, what's 15 minus 7? The 8th, I think. So it might be a little tricky with getting PAR's review on the 9th, but we can always continue it out again if it's looking tight for the 15th.
Correct.
Okay. So can I get a motion to continue this hearing out to September 15th?
I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
All right. All in favor, Jim?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Peggy?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
And I am also an aye.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you all.
Thank you very much for your time, Commission.
Yep. Have a good night.
Good night now.
All right, next up we have 1 Hickory Way, notice of intent, continuation for a single family house. Judy, I'll turn to you to reintroduce this project.
Sure. Plans. So this is a notice of intent to finish a previously permitted project to construct a 1-house subdivision off of North Mill Street at what would be called 1 Hickory Way. So the original permit for this project expired, but they did construct the crossing, part of the wetland replication, but that was not completed, and they did not construct the house at that time. So there's a new notice of intent to complete the development of this lot. And simultaneously, the applicant has applied for a COC to close out that original permit, which should be done prior to any new order of conditions being issued for this lot. We do not have a DEP number yet for the notice of intent, although I heard that is forthcoming. And we do have comments from Joe on both the COC request as well as the notice of intent as those continue to move forward.
Okay, great. Great. I think I will turn to, this is you, Joe Marquidant, right? This is your
Correct.
project. Do you have anything you want to add as an update before I go to Joe Orzel?
Sure. Since we last met, which was quite a while ago, we have made some changes to the plan. The biggest issue seems to have been trying to revitalize some of the ideas from 2012 when construction was taking place. The feedback we received, we've heard and made changes accordingly. What we have done is to try to minimize whatever is taking place at the site and move it out of the riverfront area. So the septic system has been shifted, the home has been shifted, the driveway location has been shifted to try to reduce our impacts to the riverfront area. We are down below 10% for the site, and the work in the riverfront is simply to construct the drive. We have heard the concerns about doing the replication for the crossing that you see there highlighted in red in the center of the screen at the stormwater mitigation at the intersection with North Mill Street. So we have taken all of that replication and moved it to a point just westerly of the stream channel. That area just above the cursor that Judy has is now the location for replication of wetlands and mitigation for some of the riverfront area that has been impacted by the design. So all in all, our attempts are to minimize impacts to the riverfront area and kind of bring this design in line with what's this commission has been improving and recently and moving away from a lot of the ideas that were promoted back in 2012.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that. Joe Orzel, I'll turn to you for your comments. And if you, I know your comments are combined COC and notice of intent, but I don't know if you can kind of highlight the COC comments.
You want COC at this point?
Yeah, if
Okay.
you mind.
So one of the comments was regarding the existing drainage pipes, the 4-inch and 6-inch drainage pipe, and where they're coming from. So the applicant submitted information that they had used a camera, inserted it in the pipes, extended up to, I think one about 25 feet and another one beyond 100 feet into stone and gravel areas. So that certainly is additional information. I don't know if it necessarily answers the question of what the pipes are installed for and what they might be draining. So the commission to discuss that. Maybe Mr. Mark Brown has some additional ideas on that. With regard to the replication protocols, the revised protocols revisions have been made, and didn't have any further comment on that. I thought those looked good. With respect to planting of the replication area, originally I had referred to the original replication area that needs to be planted. I was recommending that be done under an EO. I guess commission needs to discuss whether moving it to this location still needs to be planted. I would think so, under the COC, and that probably should be done under an enforcement order, also, so that it can be allowed to move ahead. Permanent immovable barriers have been added to the plan, so that's something for the commission also to take a look at and see if they agree with those locations. And I think that sums up my comments for the COC.
Okay. Just to clarify on the replication area moving, you're okay, Joe, with what's shown for replication area? It's just whether we're okay with it being in a different location.
Yes, I am okay with the location and the proposed mitigation protocol.
Okay. All right. Mystery pipe, Joe Marquardt, do you have any additional information or thoughts on the mystery pipe? And I don't know, Judy, if you can highlight that on the plan right now, where the mystery pipe is that we're discussing. You can find it.
Coming out of that little pond off site, Judy. Yeah, there you go. Yep. We have contacted the contractor that did the installation of the site improvements that you see up till now, the driveway install, the retaining walls, and he has no recollection of those pipes being installed. We moved to trying to examine those via the use of a camera. They were inserted into both pipes. As Joe mentioned a moment ago, one deadheads southwesterly, about 25 feet in an area of crushed stone. The other one travels about 125 feet, generally back towards the house location. And then deadheads there in what is the naturally occurring substrate, sands and gravels. They have been dry. Every time I have looked at them, they were dry during the cammering, which is obviously not unusual at the end of July. But we have no idea what the source is. The original contractor does not recall the purpose for those pipes. So we felt we would do more damage removing the pipes than leaving them. If they were encountered during construction activities up near the septic system, up near the house location, and they could carry water back towards that little pond, then they would certainly be removed beyond the limits to the edge of work, beyond the limits of the septic system or home, and cut and capped. But I'm sorry, despite all our activities, I can't give you any more insight as to their source.
Okay. So I think Just thinking out loud here, as far as the COC goes, it seems like they don't, I can't think of an impact of those pipes on, doing the mitigation work, and closing out the COC. Perhaps kicking the can down the road to the notice of intent, we might want to work in some conditions, like you said, Joe Marquardt, that during construction, in regards to erosion controls, sedimentation, other things that might pop up, we condition something there with those pipes. But my thought on the COC piece of it is, I think the due diligence has been done to do the mitigation work. I don't know if others have any thoughts on that, or if you do, Judy or Joe. Okay. To move on from the mystery pipe, the other question was the PIBs. Judy, if you could, I don't know if you can zoom in or highlight those.
Yeah, it's these little hexagons. So they start along the driveway.
Okay.
Continue over here. And then they go around the proposed barn in the back as well.
So for the most part, they're following the erosion control barrier, but they do come off of it in some places as well. Is that right?
Generally, yeah, they were at the ECB, which was the limit of work. Behind the home and the stockpile area, there is no buffer zone, so they were discontinued through that area.
And in regards to the COC, should the PIBs be attached to the notice of intent versus the COC?
I think so.
Yeah, if it would be helpful, Melissa, for the COC discussion, I have the as-built.
Okay, yeah, that would be helpful.
Let's see. Yeah, here it is. So it doesn't have PIBs, but it does show the area that had been disturbed during the original construction.
Okay.
So whether or not you think a PIB is necessary for the work that has been done currently, or if you think it's more appropriate for the proposed development.
I guess, are there areas where the existing,
You could require a PIB be established through the enforcement order and word it in such a way as if work isn't completed through the order of conditions and a PIB isn't installed through an order of conditions for future development, that a PIB be established sort of as a safeguard. Orders of conditions allow work to occur, but they don't require it. So you could have something in an enforcement order that states, like, if a PIB is not established through an order of conditions, that it be established through the enforcement order or something like that.
Yeah, that's kind of where my head is going, is if things get delayed and kind of segmented, and then we have PIBs in locations that don't make sense for a long-term temporary condition or something like that. Does anyone else have thoughts on that? I think I'm liking Judy's suggestion.
And you can word it to be approved by the commission, so you could have another look at it if it has to be done that way.
Okay.
Melissa, this is so complex that I am absolutely trusting Judy to help us through this one.
And if you'd like to, with this enforcement order in particular, I know we usually vote with signatures. You don't have to do that if you all want to look at these documents before they get issued. We can absolutely do it that way and not issue it through staff. Like staff, we can draft it and then you all can look at it one more time before it gets formally issued.
Okay.
If you'd like that opportunity, because this one is kind of confusing.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. I like that idea too, Judy. Because I'm kind of a visual person, and I like the ideas, but seeing it written down, I think is helpful. Make sure we're on the same page. Okay. With that being said, I'm ready to go ahead and move forward. With an enforcement order for the wetland replication area in the new location as shown on this new proposed plan. I'm okay with that. Yep, to close out the existing COC. Would anyone like to make that motion or have additional conditions or comments before we do?
Does closing the COC need signatures that we have to approve, or is that what we're waiting on?
I would suggest doing 2 votes if you're leaning in that direction, one for the enforcement order, one for the COC, and then another to continue the hearing for the notice of intent. So 3 votes.
Gosh. So, Melissa, what motion are you looking for right now, and does it need signatures?
I'm looking for issuing an enforcement order. An enforcement order to complete the replication work required of the COC for the driveway work that was completed, with signatures by Judy. Yeah.
So this is not the piece that we're going to hold on to so we can take a look at it. So this is with signatures.
Oh, no, wait, this isn't, because that includes the... You're right. Sorry. Thanks, Ted. For Judy to write the enforcement order for review by the commission.
I will make that motion.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Jim?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Peggy?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
And I am also an aye. All right. So number 2 is to issue COC with signatures by Judy.
I will make that motion.
And I'll.
All right. All in favor? Jim? Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Peggy?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
And I am also an aye. Okay. in regards to the notice of intent, Joe or Zella, are there any, we didn't go over your comments in regards to the notice of intent yet.
Yeah, I think there was some overlap. So there was a comment on the pipes, which we've discussed. A comment that the replication area had been moved and the protocol was okay. And also the plantings had been changed, revised, and the revised planting species look fine. There was a change in the density of plantings, and I don't know if my previous comment had been misunderstood on that. They had initially proposed planting 10 saplings at 10 feet on center. But if you planted 10 feet on center for the proposed area, it works out to about, or if you plant 10 saplings at 10 feet on center, or sorry, I'm confusing myself. If you plant 10 saplings at the proposed 20 feet on center, it actually works out to 10 saplings would be 15 feet on center. So I was just noting that they reduced the planting numbers to 6, I believe, which keeps the plantings at 20 feet on center. My initial comment on that was not to change the number of plants, but just to clarify that planting 10 to 15 feet on center is the appropriate distance, which works out to 10 saplings. Did I confuse everyone on that? I'm sure I did.
Well, Joe Marquardt, do you get direction?
I get the thrust of Joe's comment. I did reach out to Scott Jordan at Ecotech this afternoon, but was not able to catch up with him. So we can work on that in the meantime.
Yeah, I think it's just restoring the number to 10. But the other changes that were recommended have been addressed. The one item that the Conservation Commission, I think, is to discuss yet was with respect to the amount of proposed disturbance within the riverfront area. So based on the information that was provided, it looks like including the riverfront enhancement area, mitigation area, which is proposed, and not including the area of proposed for stormwater management, that the project would alter approximately 9% of the total riverfront area on the site. So they're under the 10%. If you do include the stormwater, which doesn't have to be included under the regulations, or then I think it goes over. But I think with the mitigation proposed in the riverfront and not counting the stormwater, it does keep it under 10%. At least based on the information that I discerned from the report. So that'd be the one remaining item, I think, that is one remaining item for the Conservation Commission to discuss on the amount of riverfront disturbance.
All right, so on that item, I feel comfortable with that, especially being that part of the disturbance is for restoration work. And like you said, per the letter of the law, it doesn't need to include the stormwater area in the count. Do commission members have other feelings on that?
I'm with you.
Okay. Okay. So that's that. We talked about the pipe. Unfortunately, without a DEP number, we can't vote and close this tonight. So Joe, you can fix the trees. Comment. Maybe since we're making a change anyway and have time, we could put a comment on there about the pipe. And some protections in place if the contractor comes across that, to be aware of it, to look for it, and provide controls or plugs or whatever's needed to talk to the engineer about that to make sure we don't have any negative impacts unintentionally coming from the mystery pipe to our wetland resource area. And then lastly, I guess, commission members, just to feel comfortable with the PIB line for the proposed work. I think I'm looking at it here. What is the plus hatch?
Existing fill piles. There's one out by the barn area and then a larger one southwesterly of the home, the proposed home.
Okay, so I'm just looking at the PIB medallion, kind of like it's in the center of the screen right now. The other fill pile kind of near the arrow that's pointing from the 313. Yeah. So what's the proposed condition between that medallion and the erosion control barrier?
That fill will be utilized at the home and then loam and seed.
Okay. So this is one of our problem markers, Ted. I think. Potentially.
I'm sorry, say that again. I was trying to read something else on the plan and I missed that.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking about the discussions we've had about PIBs and projects where they're installed, like over on Chamberlain Whalen, where we end up approving a PIB that's in the middle of a lawn area, or it's far enough away from the limit of work that we're expecting it to revegetate, and that just never happens, and we kind of get in these situations where we have to deal with them. So I am looking at the PIB that's proposed there. Judy's got the hand circling it right now. That it seems like will be in the middle of a lawn area when the project's done.
So you're suggesting moving that southerly or southwesterly to the ECB line? Do I have that right?
I think we either need to move it or we need to have something else in place, that like a fence or plantings or something over there. I'm not saying we need to do that. I'm saying one or the other, so that we don't come in this situation in the future where we have a medallion in the middle of a lawn and we're fighting with a homeowner about mowing around it.
I gotcha. Okay.
So one or the other, I'd like to see that changed.
And I think if I could weigh in, looking that particular marker is on the 50-foot. If we move it south, then we are cutting deeper into the 50-foot. So I would push for a stronger PIB than just a post.
Keeping the location, but changing the PIB.
Right. Yep. So whether that is the split rail fence that we talk about often now, Melissa, or some robust plantings that are not going to be mowed by a hasty landscaper.
Yeah. And I think, Joe, if you could just take a look at those PIBs, and I mean, this one is jumping out to me right now, but if there's any other that are in situation, and maybe just talk with the homeowner, because we're just trying to prevent in the future, you know, when we go to close these out after the project's complete and we go out there and I'll get frustrated that, you know, the landscapers not minding the PIB.
No, I get it. Yep.
So we're not talking about this after the fact.
Sure, be happy to.
Okay.
Melissa, may I jump in on one other part of the plan right near where we're just talking about?
Sure.
So when I said I was looking at a piece of the plan, I'm curious, Joe, if you look, follow along the erosion control barrier in a tree line, it looks like there's a symbol that kind of looks like a cotton ball. right next to flag 8. What is that?
An existing tree.
Oh, that's a tree. Okay.
Yeah, probably under 24-inch.
Okay. My bigger point, especially given the feedback I gave our last applicant, I'm wondering why the erosion control barrier by that tree needs to be as close to the wetland. Why can't that barrier be closer to the drive so that we have a little bit more room for error?
We were trying to honor the project change request granted by a previous version of this board to the developer back in 2012. The board said that they could maintain that existing cart path and utilize that cart path. So we were trying to balance what was granted in 2012 in the wisdom of that board with the current plan.
So is the hope to keep a cart path in addition to the driveway?
Just to honor that limit of work, the driveway will certainly replace that cart path. I don't see the cart path being used for any kind of vehicular traffic, but it was a limit established by that board in its wisdom in 2012.
Okay. All right. It seems to me that regardless of what happened in 2012, if that can be moved closer to the proposed PIBs up in there, that would make a lot of sense. But I don't know if we can enforce that if that was already agreed to in the past.
Through the chair.
Yes, Judy.
The erosion controls would be temporary anyway, so regardless of any previously approved cart path, I think it's a good idea to have the erosion controls as close to the new work as possible. So it does give you a little bit more buffer distance. So I don't think pulling them in necessarily negates any prior approvals.
So if I could translate that, that means moving those barriers closer to the proposed drive and the PIBs works for you, Judy?
Yeah, it's a temporary measure to prevent wetland impact. So it doesn't necessarily, I mean, unless the cart path is needed for construction, it wouldn't necessarily impact it long term.
So Joe Marquardt, I don't know how many feet that is, but given when we've seen problems, often when we have the barriers that close, then it exacerbates a problem if we have a breakthrough. So the more buffer for mistakes we can have, the happier I'd be.
I can appreciate that. As you can see on the northerly side of that drive, we're very tight to the drive.
I did, and that's why at first I was wondering if that was space to actually build the drive, but when you were that close on the north side, I thought there's got to be room on the south to tighten things up too.
Well, the concern was once we start to act on that fill pile that we mentioned a moment ago with the crosshatch, will there be enough room for construction vehicles? So it allowed us a little bit of extra room, maybe 6 or 8 feet, in order to get at that pile and construct that drive. So it was just an attempt to give the contractor some options. Sometimes we get so tight that they say, Joe, you haven't left me any room to do any work.
Is that the kind of thing where if that problem popped up, you guys could come back and say, may we move this to help the contractors?
I'm not a big fan of that. If that call comes in on a Monday morning and we can't meet with you for 2 weeks, it creates a...
Okay, well then I guess I would say, given the problems we've had with other projects, if that's staying there, I wish it would move. I'm going to be really, 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 really unhappy if we have a problem there. Because we've notified you of it, and it just scares me to have it that close.
I can appreciate that. We'll talk to some of the contractors that have been weighing in with bids and see if we can't come up with a compromise.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. Anybody have anything else before we continue this out? No. Okay. Can I get a motion to continue this out to September 15th? I assume that be enough time, Joe Marquardt?
Yeah, that should work.
Okay.
I'll make that motion, Melissa.
All right.
I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Jim?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Peggy?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. All right. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you.
All right. So Town of Hopkinton Wetland Protection Regulations. Being that it's already 9 o'clock and we still have to jump back down to the work session items, I think I'm gonna see if anybody has quick comments that they want to discuss. Otherwise, ask for a motion to continue the proposed changes on the regulations.
Melissa, other than a quick touch back on this, when we get to the conservation minute, I would make a motion to continue this hearing.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor? Jim?
Through the chair.
Through the chair.
Yes.
81%.
Can we just have a date?
Does that make sense?
Right.
Well, that since I made the motion, that gets to the discussion we might have during the conservation minute.
Oh, yeah, we can go ahead and talk about that. Dates. We were going to talk, Ted, about having a separate meeting to go through the regulations so that we can kind of focus on preparing for that meeting and making movement rather than having it jumbled in with our other hearings. I'd like to get any feedback from other commission members. I know that looking at our agendas coming up, there's a bit of a break between our September 29th meeting and our October 20th that we could fit in a meeting specifically to go over the regulations.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
And that would be our only agenda item. There's no way we or someone else would add to that agenda.
Right.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
That's what I would like to do.
Walter and Peggy, are you in favor or do you have comments on that? We can send out a doodle poll. Judy can send out a doodle poll to pick a date.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
As someone who writes regulations
What
for
it'll
work,
do is
I like that idea a lot. Just having that the only agenda item.
Okay.
So I'm not sure though what that does for my motion. Continue to when? The 15th, where we might continue it again? Judy's
Through the
saying
chair?
yes.
Yes, Anna.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just going to suggest, Ted. I would suggest to vote to the September 15th meeting, and then we'll come up with the doodle poll, and then at the September 15th meeting, you guys can vote to add a meeting date specifically for that.
Perfect. So I will make a motion to continue the hearing on the wetlands protection regulations to September 15th.
Second.
All in favor? Jim?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Peggy?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. Okay. Perfect. All right, jump down to work session items. We are at Nealon, 1 Hickory Way. Is that correct?
That one is already done.
Oh, good. Toll Brothers, 51 Chamberlain. Request for certificate of compliance. All right. Judy, you want to present this one?
Sure. Through the chair, this is a request for COC to close out an order of conditions issued to Toll Brothers for construction of a single-family house at 51 Chamberlain. This is the first house on the left as you're going into the subdivision on the Chamberlain side. A few changes between the approved plan and the existing conditions plan reported by Toll's engineer include a slightly different house footprint, a slightly smaller driveway footprint, certain exterior features in slightly different locations, but with no impact to distance to wetland, and a different size pipe spanning the driveway rather than, it's an 18-inch rather than a 12-inch culvert that was approved. So nothing out of the ordinary in terms of the other ones we've seen. Some initial comments from Lucas included at the time mowing beyond the PIB, adding certain site features to the as-built plan, which have been done. We have a tree line added to the as-built plan as well. And I would note that the scale of the as-built plan does not match the scale of the approved plan. That has not been addressed, but hasn't been a major issue in the past for the commission. So we have been out several times this summer to check on the mowing status. It's kind of stopped. Growth isn't great. So along the driveway here, there hasn't been mowing beyond the PIBs, but there just hasn't been a ton of growth. And I'm happy to pull up some pictures to show you what that looks like. Today, we did also note that there might have been some additional mowing beyond the PIBs in front of the house here. So I think it's up to the commission if you're happy with what the growth looks like behind the posts. And I'll pull up those pictures now.
Thanks, Judy. I did get a chance to go out and walk by this one today to check out those posts along the driveway. And I don't think it was enough growth to, yeah, it didn't look much. Are these pictures from today?
Yeah, these are from
I was gonna say it looked like that. Yeah. I think
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Judy.
Yeah, they'd put up some strings to keep the landscapers out of that area, but some of them are falling down. And I just think maybe this area is pretty shady. We haven't been getting a ton of rain, so the growth hasn't been great. I think the area we were concerned was actively being mowed is like a little bit around the PIBs that are actually around the house itself. Like here.
Yeah. I think if you go back a picture or two, like, yeah, I guess kind of you can I could tell the PIBs that were marked with the wood post kind of in the back of the house like had enough growth. Like that looked good to me. That looked like, we haven't been mowing for a while. It's obvious that it's more of a meadow look. And I think that's where it needs to be for me to feel comfortable with issuing a COC. So as far as the ones along the driveway where it's essentially just, I haven't mowed the lawn for a couple weeks, that area either needs to look like an established meadow like the other one, or something more substantial needs to be put in place if they don't want to wait for it to grow back. Would be the alternative, not just a string, something more permanent. Other places walking around the neighborhood, maybe a chain, maybe, there's rock, there's other homes that have used like a line of rocks, not a real substantial wall, but at least, a rock lined in the grass that establishes that barrier, fencing, something else. So I'll open it up to other commission members, but I would not be comfortable issuing a COC at this point in time.
Melissa, through the chair.
Yes.
I was also out there tonight. I was able to swing by at about 5:45, 6 o'clock, and I'm in alignment with everything you've said. The only thing I'd add is it's a little vexing to me why the posts we're looking at there along the driveway do not have PIB medallions on them. A lot of the other ones do, especially if those posts aren't turned into something with a more permanent chain or something attached. medallions on those granite posts would be an important addition. If the homeowner is hiring a landscaper and then just says, mow my lawn, the landscaper is not going to have any idea what those posts means. Hopefully, maybe they would look at the medallion so that we know that that doesn't happen a lot of times too. So yeah, I agree with you that if you replace the string with something more substantial, a chain, I don't know, a heavy rope like at Long John Silver, something, a full-on fence. The way it is right now, I can't approve a COC.
Comments?
I would agree with both of you. I would agree with on your opinion, Melissa, and also on what Ted just spoke to. I agree that it's not adequate.
Okay. All right. With that being said, I think we don't have anyone from Toll on the line or representing the homeowner, right?
I don't believe so.
To speak. Okay. Okay. So Judy, we don't need to vote if we're not issuing a COC, right?
Right. No
You'll
vote needed.
pass along the message.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. All right, next up we have 64 Saddle Hill Road, which is a violation. Discussion. Judy, pull up the plan. And this one I know was covered at the previous meeting, which I did listen in on. And they're ahead of schedule, I believe, coming in front, providing these plans. So, Judy, I'll defer to you, or if we have someone on board for the applicant to present the plan.
Yes, Paul D. Simone, Colonial Engineering. I didn't think I was going to make it, but I was able to get on. So we went out pretty quick and did the work that you guys requested, showed all the information on the plan, the shed that's there. The blue outline is not gravel, it's actually stone, small stones. So what we propose to do is remove that within the 50-foot buffer, the hatched areas, and loam and seed. Now, I showed some of those posts on that 50-foot line, every 30 feet or so. And after I did that and submitted it, I was thinking that it might not be a good idea because if you can see the green edge of woods that is there, and it's lawn right up to the edge of woods, other than the stone, I envision kids playing out there and running and stuff, maybe throwing a football around, and if those things are sticking up, that could hurt somebody. So I was hoping that you could see your way into just saying, yeah, forget those things. I see them as somebody getting hurt on those, and I really feel like an idiot for putting them on the plan. And that's pretty much it. The septic system that you approved at the last meeting is almost done. So that's underway. Probably done by the end of this week.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, great. I appreciate you expediting this and getting it in front of us. I think what was asked for was to mark out the existing conditions, and you even have a proposal here for restoration. So this is very helpful. I think based on the discussions we just had about how these are problematic when we have the posts in the middle of lawn areas, is exactly what we were just talking about. Safety, I guess, would be one thing, but also for us, it becomes difficult to enforce and monitor, and just people end up mowing behind them anyway. So I would agree.
The area has been mowed forever, other than that stone putting down. And I just envision kids playing and running and, hitting those things.
Yeah, I think from the commission's point of view, what we're trying to establish with the PIB is not to have something in the middle of a grass area. It's to put up a line of where we don't want anything to be disturbed. We don't want it to be played. We want it to restore and go back to be, meadow and grass and trees and things like this. So the idea would be that they wouldn't be mowing and having play areas behind the PIB line. So mowing is something that we wouldn't want to see. So the discussion here, I think, is where should that line be? Where should that buffer be? Where it's allowed to grow back and naturally revegetate? Should it be at the existing tree line? Are we looking for mitigation to pull that forward where it's at the 50 and either that becomes a fence line or gets more extensively restored so it's not a lawn play area, is the commission's perspective on the PIB.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
But, like you say, putting him in the middle of a lawn area, I just envision kids running into him and getting hurt.
Yeah. So I guess I'll open it up to commission members. I understand that this has been like this. I think at the last hearing, you look back at Ariel's, Judy, and it was like 2014 maybe that this got cleared.
Yeah, I couldn't actually find in near map.
It was at least 2014, I think.
Yeah.
Going back to.
At least before the owners who just moved out, they moved into this situation as is.
Yeah.
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Ted.
So, first of all, I'm really happy that the septic's moving along quickly, and I'm glad we could work through things so that the applicant could get that part done. As for tonight, I feel like as I look at this plan, there's two parts of discussion, and one for me is up to some back and forth. The other is kind of a non-negotiable. The non-negotiable for me is, can we get the shed out of the 50-foot buffer? Can we move that at minimum so that the back of it is 50 feet away from the wetland, ideally even deeper or even further away from the wetland? That to me is a non-negotiable part of this next step. As for, I agree with Melissa, if we put in posts, we're going to run into all sorts of frustration. This is screaming out to me for a split rail fence type situation where behind it is left to regrow, or maybe you can speed it along by some wildflower sprinklings or something like that. Whether that fence has to be at the 50-foot buffer or not, that's where I'm willing to talk about things a bit. So those are the two pieces I see, and I'd be interested in what the other commission members are seeing. Did I kill the meeting? Things got very quiet.
Through the chair?
Yes, Joe.
I just wanted to note that, as was pointed out in the review of the RDA, that there is existing fairly recent appearing fill along and within the edge of the wetland between flags W4 to W7 roughly. And I don't know that the commission was expecting that to be on the revised plan also, showing the limits of that fill.
Thanks, Joe. I missed that part. So you're saying actually in the wetland itself, there's filling?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Joe, thank you. I completely forgot about that piece. Yes, that would be something else we'd have to wrestle with.
I didn't see that. I went out to the site myself when the survey crew was there. I didn't see any. Whereabouts did you say filling in the wetlands?
Flags W4 to W7. There's brush, leaves, and soil in locations that have been pushed over the slope. And at the toe of the slope, some of that's extending into the wetland.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I didn't look over that slope.
Yeah, so there's your argument, Ted Barker Hook, for buffer. More buffer, the better.
That's it exactly.
Yeah, I know that the green line on our plan is the edge of the woods right around. So if that stuff is pushed up at the edge of the woods, it wouldn't be in the wetlands.
Well, that's down the slope.
Unless you went down there. Oh, went down over the banking.
It's down over the banking, yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so I think that's a to-do item to add the fill on the plan so we understand the impacts that we're trying to restore or mitigate for.
Boy, that photo's significant, huh?
I can see the wetland flag right there.
Yeah, and the wetland, it's the edge of the wetland kind of goes right through the lower part of that pile.
So you'd want us to pull that. It looks like a lot of leaves and stuff.
Yeah, it's a mix of leaves, brush, and there are some areas with soil pushed over also.
Okay.
How would you like us to handle that? Just pull that out with a backhoe and just kind of grab it and pull it up over the bank? I don't think you can get down in there.
Through the chair.
Yes, Joe.
I would recommend showing the area on a plan so we get an idea of how extensive it is and what it might require. But I think you're probably going to have to get in there with the backhoe. It's too much to do by hand for sure.
Okay.
Melissa.
Yes, Ted.
But Joe, I don't doubt that. I would also worry, especially since that's on the edge of the wetland, if the backhoe was a little too aggressive, suddenly we're ripping out soil. So it's got to be done with care, I think, and that would be really important, or else we have a different discussion of destruction of wetland area.
Yeah, it would have to be done with a small machine, nothing huge.
Okay. So Paul, maybe you can take a look at that and put some thoughts together on a methodology there. We get that kind of quantified on the plan and where that work would need to be done. And while you're looking at that, maybe you can brainstorm a little bit with the homeowner on if there's a potential to move that shed at all and what we could establish as a PIB. It looks like I have a hand up. Do we have the homeowner on the line or a neighbor, Taylor? Rick and Cindy Taylor?
Okay, hold on. Hi, good evening. I'm Cindy Taylor. Thank you for meeting with us. So we purchased a house in 2016. The shed was there when we purchased it. The gravel at the back of the yard was there. We actually had been renting the house for the past 4 years. We moved to New Hampshire. We would like to be able to take care of any issues that there are at the property. Most of them, or all of them, have been unknowns to us. And honestly, we're like completely at a loss and we have no idea as to what we're supposed to do at this point. We are obviously, you saw, we're in the process of selling the home. We want to make sure that the young family that's moving in is able to have a wonderful backyard and to be able to enjoy it as much as we did in the past 10 years. So we'd like to be able to take care of any of these issues that have arisen at the house. I guess that's it. We don't know where to go. We don't know any of this. We do have the house under contract. We would like to be able to get the house, everything ready for the new owners before the sale, September 23rd. So we would like to be able to take care of any issues and make it be a home that we enjoyed and a yard that we enjoyed.
I appreciate that. These things often do come up with the sale of houses that get missed in the previous sale, and then current homeowner gets unfortunately stuck with these things. So appreciate your willingness to set the new homeowner up for success, and we'd like to work with you on that. So September 23rd. But yeah, I don't know what, the condition of the shed, if that's something that is movable. I guess would be a question.
It can definitely be moved. I did go on the Patriot property card and it did say that there was a permit for the shed.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. I know the commission was saying before that they were unaware of the shed and because it's inside of the 50-foot buffer zone and everything like that. But there was a permit pulled for it back in, I think it was 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Through the chair.
Yes, Judy.
Yeah, I'm happy to look into that, but most likely was a building permit, which would have been separate from any conservation approval. But I'm happy to verify what that approval actually looked like. I don't think it was conservation, but yeah, I can look into that for sure.
Okay.
The shed is has a foundation. It is on blocks, so therefore the shed can be moved. That is not an issue at all.
Okay. Okay, so that's, I guess, one thing that the commission is looking for. And then, as we discussed, pulling that material out of the wetland area, and then just establishing this PIB for the new homeowner, which, as Ted kind of alluded to, there's a little flexibility there in working with the commission. We just need to, I guess, as a board, provide some guidance on what we're looking for so that they can wrap this up and get it done. Because I do appreciate the fact that the homeowners here are trying to, clean this up for the new folks coming in. So I think in my experience, a split rail fence, something like this, is the way to go. If you're amenable to that, I think that's the quickest, easiest thing. It doesn't sound like landscaping or plantings or things like this. They tend to take a lot more time to vet and to plant and to establish and whatnot. So I'll throw that out there. And if anyone else has comments they want to share, appreciate that.
Out of curiosity.
I would add that I like the split rail fence a lot for the reasons we've seen in other hearings tonight and past months. I do think, especially at the beginning, putting some of those medallions on a couple of the split rail posts would be helpful as well. I'm going to throw out this proposal to you, Cindy, if I may call you Cindy.
Yes, please.
If you were willing to put up a split rail fence, and I was talking to someone about this before. It just seems like that's the most cost-effective type of fencing that would work for us for what we're trying to do for protection. If you can't stand split rail fence, it doesn't have to be. It just seems like a cost-effective solution. If the shed were able to be moved out, I would be And we were able to get rid of those piles of fill spilling into the wetlands. And if that's done very carefully, I would accept myself a split rail fence at the 25-foot buffer, just kind of at the edge, a touch inside the tree line, and that preserves the lawn that you have kind of seen as your lawn, because that's the way it was when you bought it. But it still will prevent, hopefully, future fill being thrown into the wetland and fall rakings and things like that. So I'm speaking only for myself. I don't know what the other commissioners say, but that would be my proposal. Move the shed, clean up the piles, and a split rail type fence at the 25-foot buffer line.
That would be a wonderful thing. It would leave tons of room for children to be able to play in the backyard. We do believe the new couple that's purchasing our home is actually getting married and going on their honeymoon. And it would be a nice thing because they have waited a long time to purchase a house in Hopkinton. And they've tried a lot. And our house is obviously one of the more affordable ones in the town. And at the 25-foot buffer would be absolutely amazing, and it would enjoy future families to have so much more time in the yard.
Okay. Okay. Any other commission members have comments of that in support of it? Thoughts?
I support that proposal.
Okay.
Through the chair.
So
Are you also asking for the stone areas to be removed? And as Mr. DeSimone said, loam and seed, or just let the stone areas remain because that's now going to be in the usable yard?
My first thought, and Ted, I'm curious to hear what you think, would be if we're accepting the PIB fence at the 25, then we wouldn't need anything done with the stone. It's pervious. The homeowner.
Yeah, I agree. And if the new homeowner wants that to become lawn, that's up to them. If it were a paved section, I would think differently.
Yep. So I think it's allowable to take it out and convert it to lawn if they want to do that. I would also allow it to remain stone, being that the PIB is being put up and that's within or outside of our PIB.
As a courtesy, I'd also remind the applicant that we're in the middle of a drought. It might not be the best time to plant lawn, so it kind of saves you that hassle.
Thank you.
Great. So with that being said,
Melissa?
Yes.
I just want to say for the public record, so that we don't have an applicant sometime in the future say, but you allowed a fence at 25 feet. For myself, the reason for that proposal is all of that is previously disturbed stuff. If that were not previously disturbed, I would be much more firm about the PIB being further from the wetland. I just kind of want that on the public record.
Mm-hmm.
Good point, Ted.
Yep, I agree. And it's been previously disturbed for quite some time through multiple homeowners. Yeah. Okay, so this was a violation, enforcement order. Judy, we probably need to get an updated plan here. So can they proceed with work without a plan? I guess I'm just trying to figure out how to do this within the timeline that they're trying to work with.
Mm-hmm.
I can have a plan to you by the end of the week showing the areas to be cleaned up along the wetlands, and I can show the fence on there for you.
Okay.
I think you can still vote on an enforcement order with those 4 requirements, or I guess 3 without the stone needing to be removed. And then we'll just have the plan from Mr. DeSimone to reference. But I think regardless, we have enough to go off with this plan with moving the shed out of the 50, establishing a fence at the 25, and then we have Joe's comment letter and pictures on the wetland fill pile. So I think we can work those into an enforcement order. It's whether or not you want to see the plan updated prior to issuing that enforcement order with specificity around the restoration.
And Judy, with medallions on fence
Yeah.
posts, every other one or something.
Yep.
Okay.
So maybe you could write it so that you require a plan after those items are completed so that we can at least get everything issued, the restoration included, and then to close out that enforcement order, a new plan has to be provided showing that those items have been met, if that works.
That makes sense to me. So can I get a motion to that effect?
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Great. All in favor? Jim?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Peggy?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
And I am also an aye. All right.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you for working with us.
Cindy, thank you for working with us. I feel like this is a good decision for all parties.
Thank
Thank
you
you
all very
again.
much. We appreciate your consideration of everything.
Yeah. Next up, we have 30 West Main, 0 Elm, 0 West Main violation discussion. Judy, I'm gonna let you take the lead on summarizing where we're at. I guess this is the first time we're discussing this, right?
Yes, this is the first time we're discussing this violation. This is a project permitted through an order of conditions that the commission voted on earlier this year for single-family home construction at a new subdivision that doesn't have an address yet. So that's why there's like 3 addresses listed: 30 West Main, 0 Elm, 0 West Main. At a recent site visit on August 20th, staff observed a few issues with the site. Erosion controls were in severe disrepair, almost non-existent in several areas. Trees fallen over them in other areas, pulling down the silt fence. We observed that the site had been grubbed and there was unstable material throughout most of the project site. Despite there being barely any erosion controls, we observed some pretty significant damage on at least 11 trees outside the limit of work. Bark ripped off, branches broken, trunk damage. And we also observed some fairly significant dump piles of cut vegetation outside of the limit of work in jurisdictional areas. It's a little hard to tell, but kind of past the tree line here, there's some brush piles that were not there before. The owner had been asked on July 21st to fix erosion controls that had been damaged by some of the initial tree work. So at least the trees pulling down the silt fence issue has been the case for over a month now. These repairs were not made. Additional tree work and grubbing was done at the site that resulted in the damage outside the limit of work, as well as we think the full disintegration, I don't even know where they went, of the erosion controls elsewhere on the site. Since issuing this notice of violation, there have been no improvements made to the site to restore erosion controls and stability. Commission to discuss any enforcement action or requirements you'd like to see prior to the cease and desist I placed on the site to be lifted, because as it stood, I was not comfortable allowing any additional site work with the state that things were in. And we do have the owner on the line to answer questions as well.
So yeah, Judy, am I able to talk or?
I would turn it over to Melissa, the chair, for her to decide how to run things. Melissa, you are on mute. We can't hear you.
Oh, thank you, Judy. All right. Thank you for that overview, Judy, and bringing it to our attention. I did swing by the site today, and it still looks exactly as these pictures show. And I guess I just want to say that this is really disappointing to get and to see, especially, you know, I think clearing trees is always kind of, you know, hard to see. But just the carelessness in taking them down, and especially the trees that were affected outside the limit of work, and the dumping of tree limbs and things outside the erosion controls. There just was obviously no respect for the boundaries here that we had really carefully worked through in approving this project with the applicant. So I will open it up to the homeowner for thoughts, but I just want to, you know, it's getting late. I want to keep it brief, not really looking for excuses, just trying to understand a little bit and how we're going to move forward here, because this definitely seems like a situation where, as a commission member with a non-responsiveness and just kind of the real
Yeah, thank you, Melissa. I know it's getting late. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to speak quickly. First, I want to clarify the current condition of the site, particularly regarding the grubbing issue. Judy specifically told me there should be no grubbing, and I understood that instruction back in July. And under my contract with the tree contractor, which is Mass Pro Tree, and the tree removal and the stump grubbing are separate phases and with separate payment milestones. We were still in the tree removal phase and had not reached the grubbing phase. And after Judy contacted me this past Friday, I went to the site. I inspected the site also this past weekend. I did see significant ground disturbance in some areas, but I also saw many roots and stumps still in the ground, as well as also some trees that have not yet been removed. Some of the trees he was supposed to remove them, not yet removed. So I wanted to clarify that, because I think it's important I want to correctly understand the current condition of the site. And the second issue is the erosion control. I understand that the erosion controls need to be maintained, and the damaged area need to be addressed. What I'm struggling with right now is the practical sequencing of that work. Some of the existing erosion controls are now pretty much buried by soil. In the roots and stump material immediately, they are adjacent to them. And the remaining approved work eventually will require heavy equipment to return to these same areas. So, you know, this particular site is very difficult for erosion control installation because of the extensive roots and stones. Judy, she knows, I mean, in the ground. The original installation took me substantial amount of time and labor. My concern is that if I fully reconstruct those controls right now before the tree work is done, the remaining work may disturb them again very quickly. So I would really appreciate, I really hope the commission can give me some guidance on the best compliant way to handle this phase of construction. I was thinking whether an interim erosion control or stabilization measure will be acceptable while the remaining approved tree work is completed. And then I will follow by full restoration afterward. Will that even be possible? Or is there, you know, another sequencing or protection method that the commission would recommend? Yeah, I understand the importance of protecting the resource area. I want to make sure erosion controls remain effective. I just wanted to make sure the method we use is practical for the remaining work and it can actually be maintained. So that's my goal for tonight. What process I should follow before work can resume. Yeah.
So through the permitting process on this project, that was the time for calculating those measures and working with the contractor and the engineer. and developing that envelope in which you'd worked in. And I do specifically remember discussing when we started this project and looking at it, that this was a very tight site. This was going to be very difficult. And the commission asked again and again, are you sure? Can you work in this envelope? And the assurance was yes, we can. So in my opinion, and as speaking for myself, and I will open up to the commission members, I do not have any flexibility in moving the location of erosion controls for this site. So they need to be reestablished.
That's not what I was asking. Yeah, no.
Okay, well, and they need to be reestablished in the location that they're supposed to be. And the erosion control line, essentially for the site is the limit of work line. So the contractor needs to work in between them, and it's their responsibility to, they shouldn't be destroying them. That's part of their job. It's not the commission's job to set up how a contractor works. We just approve the plans that are presented to us. And how they protect the resource area. So that, I think, is the direction that I can give there.
Yeah, no, just very quickly, I'm not asking for any addition of approval, like expanding the area. No. I was just saying, I want to restore the erosion control. I know it's important, but also I worry, I spend, another weeks on restoring the whole thing correctly. Then within one day, within half day, everything stops again. I have to redo the whole thing. That's what I worry, because the roots were connected. What I'm thinking, I've been doing research the past couple of days while I'm looking for the contractor who can help me do the erosion control. I was looking at Mass DEP's erosion control guidance, and I noticed that this so-called compost filter socks that's recognized as a parameter sediment control, BMP, they call it, and the Massachusetts guidance can be used as an alternative to silt fence or straw barriers. Because right now I have silt fence and straw barriers, and the tree fell, the heavy machine goes in, and the silt fence just got ripped, and the straw barriers were, straw wattle was ripped off. So that so-called compost filter socks seems to be more strong, and I don't need both silt fence and the straw wattle. So so I was thinking, given the difficulty of repeatedly reconstructing the silt fence and the straw wattles during this, just for the tree clearing phase, would the commission consider allowing me using the properly sized compost field sock as the temporary parameter control in the affected area?
We allow compost socks to be used, and often in conjunction with silt fence on sites all the time, and you could certainly replace with those. But I would say that the machinery, the damage that was caused that you see here on site, the machine would cause that exact same damage to a compost sock. They're not structurally more significant to a piece of machinery running over them than a fence and a straw wattle is.
So I correctly...
Melissa, may I interrupt for a sec?
Yes, you can, Ted. Go ahead.
It is almost 10 o'clock. And I want to reiterate, Melissa, what you said is that this was a really difficult project for us to approve. And we were as clear as I can remember with any applicant that you have to work within the parameters that you're agreeing to when we approve the NOI. Any question you have about changing anything in the NOI, my answer is no. We worked through that plan, and we're very clear in saying nothing should be changed about this plan. This is the most egregious violation I have seen in my time on the commission. This is frankly insulting what's going on at this site. My answer to any change to the plan is no. It needs to go the way you agreed to do it. And if you haven't found the right contractor to do it, you got to keep searching for a contractor that'll do it right.
Yeah, I respect that, Ted. I'm not asking for change of anything. I'm trying to fix the erosion control in a practical way that's going to maintain the environment protection during the tree removal process. So here is correct me if I'm wrong, but on the Massachusetts, like the website, they were saying compost filled socks or silt fence. So it seems like using compost filled socks for the I'm just saying for the temporary thing without silt fence for the affected area. That can't, because the silt fence, Judy knows, she was with me during the whole installation process, because the whole site digging down, putting straight down in this site, it took 10 times of efforts. So I know
those
that's my job.
compost socks would be buried under all of that dirt we're looking at, just like your silk fences is. They would do nothing different to keeping your contractors to doing the right thing.
No, regarding the contract, I'm going to deal with him later. Okay, see whether I will continue with him or what. But what I'm trying to say is that I want to fix my erosion control, because now instead of blaming him or what, that's not important. I need to get erosion control back in place so work can continue and the environment can be protected. So compost.
I'm going to just cut you off for a minute, because I think we can get to a point here. You can propose alternative erosion controls in the locations that provide the same function. You can propose those. You can run them by Judy. You can run them by us.
Okay.
But they need to be at least, this is, what I would say, they need to be at least as good or better than what we had originally agreed upon. Okay.
Okay.
I understand that sometimes site conditions change, and we often have contractors come and the erosion controls are not sufficient enough, and they have to build additional siltation basins. They have to put up bigger silt fences. They have to put up, what was it at Toll Brothers? They called them super barriers or something like that. You have to put more than what we approved, because ultimately your responsibility is to keep that line and to protect the resource area, and what's in place isn't doing it. Then you need to put more in place and get them installed. And that's your responsibility. If you need to provide something better, to propose that, and we can talk about.
Okay. Yeah, I think for now, for the tree removal phase, my understanding is the key thing to protect the environment is to not let the soil run off. So I think the compost silt filter sock should serve the purpose as, because by my research, again, I'm learning in the process. That probably lasts about 6 months, but I'm ready to fully restore again. But I'm just saying, doing that instead of silt fence and straw wattle both at the same time, and of course contractor being more careful or having someone right to do the remaining of the work. It's also on my agenda, but I need to get the erosion control done right. So right now, it's not something about more. It's about the temporary measure that can serve the purpose. And then after tree removal is completed, and I'm happy to restore everything, more solid for the job site. It's like, again, I'm not asking for any changes. I'm not trying to negotiate.
I think in your case, you might actually need more, because I don't think that you're just up against sediment going into the wetlands. Your contractor went into the wetlands, and your contractor dumped debris in the wetlands, and your contractor marred trees. beyond that line. So in my mind, I feel like you might need a big orange snow fence to show the contractor what the barrier is. So I am very careful. I want to be very careful in saying that I'm okay with an alternative if it is not better than what we had before. And I will rely a little bit on Judy on whether compost sock, I don't know that that replaces the silt fence. That might replace the straw wattle, but I am not sure. And I'm gonna lean to Judy on whether, and maybe Joe or Zell on whether a silt fence and a compost sock would be the acceptable alternative.
Yeah, through the chair.
Yes, Judy.
I think I would agree with you. Compost sock is better than straw wattle because it's heavier, but the project as approved included a silt fence. So I think the silt fence should remain. And maybe in addition to that, you asked for construction fencing, something bright and orange to flag the limit of work. But I think someone would just drive over a mulch sock if that's the only thing that was out there.
Yeah, I think there was one of our projects where somebody proposed orange silt fence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that might be what you need because it stands out and maybe not trying to make up excuses for them, but maybe they have trouble seeing black fence against.
I don't think they have trouble seeing black fences. I think I might have hired the wrong person, but it's not part of discussion. I really feel the fence is very clear to see. And I texted Michael of the Mass Pro Tree and emailed him and called him. He has not responded. I wanted him to attend today's meeting. He has not responded. But honestly, it's more than clear. I have to say the erosion control, the silt fence, after multiple inspections with Judy, was more than clear about the work area and and I don't even know why the trees within the area were still there. And I don't know whether they did grubbing because he has not asked me to pay for the phase of grubbing. But it looked disturbed, but there were still roots everywhere. It's definitely not completed. But anyway, yeah. So I'm
sure it's very frustrating to you too, having spent time and money on putting the fence in and then having a contractor run over it. I appreciate that. But it is where we are. So
I know.
Melissa.
Yes, Jim.
I would suggest that the contractor not be paid for doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate. I already paid him a significant amount of money, but that's not important. I will try to research for new people, and make sure they know what has already happened, so that can eliminate potential issues for the remaining of tree work. So now I think it's getting late for everyone. So what I am thinking about doing, if that's okay, I am going to, Judy and Melissa, may I please send what I research about compost filter socks being able to work as, I'm not, again, don't take me wrong. I have all the respect for all of you. I'm just saying.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I think you're missing the point. I apologize, but.
No, tell me.
Go ahead, Jim.
The point isn't, what's that?
I said, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, the point is, yes, the filtration, but there's other issues here besides that. With the contractor and with what has been done. And I agree with Ted. This is like one of the most egregious violations that I've seen too.
But right now, I think that so we need to figure out. So again, it was not within my control to be. But I know that it's not your thing to consider. I'm just saying we need to figure out what's to do next. I thought my next step need to figure out how to fix the erosion control. I'm focusing on the solution right now.
Melissa?
So,
yes. Melissa, through the chair.
Yeah.
It seems like we need like a restoration plan to get this area that was not supposed to be disturbed back to what it should be before we can allow anything else to continue. Because I think if you just put in more erosion control, that doesn't correct the damage that's already been done. That the damage that's been done needs to be fixed.
I don't understand what damage was done outside the erosion control. I mean, could you be specific?
At this point in time, I agree, Walter, we need to move on to how to move forward. And I think the next step here is an enforcement order where we can outline those things. Right now we have a cease and desist on the work, so no work can be done until the erosion controls are reestablished, but also through the enforcement order, we can include other things, right, Judy? Like removing that brush from outside the limit of work. That would be restoring, like you're saying, Walter, removing what was thrown over.
Exactly. I think we need to address what was done beyond the limit of work, and that needs to be corrected. And what's the restoration plan to fix that before you're allowed to continue construction? Because the damage that's done beyond the limit of work seems extensive here, and just restoring the erosion control doesn't fix the damage that's been done beyond it already. That needs to be addressed before we could talk about putting, erosion control back in place and continuing work.
Right. So those items are the brush that's been disposed of over the line needs to come out. There's the matter of the trees that have been scuffed up. I don't know, Joe or Zell, if you have any thoughts on that. I mean, I don't know if there's something that we watch for that.
Yeah, it looked like, I wasn't on the site, but it looked like some of those had some pretty significant damage. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're affected negatively. But could bear watching, I think, and just see how they respond.
Okay. So maybe we need to have somebody go out and take a look at them after.
That could be through the chair. That's something where maybe an arborist would look at it and say if it's,
can they be saved? How can they be?
Right. Can it be saved?
How can they be essentially, bandaged to help prevent further damage?
So that's something we can put in there. I don't think those were the items. Judy, is there anything else outside of that I'm missing that we would want to?
Outside the limit of work, there were some tire tracks, but I don't think there's much to do about that. I think the erosion controls, besides being restored, need to be resurvey located because so much dirt went over them. I think that'll also tell the commission how much material left the site just from truck disturbance. So I think the limit of work needs to be restaked by a surveyor and then additional assessment made of what's gone over and past that. Because I think the way it looks now, there's a risk of the erosion controls getting reestablished like a couple of feet further than they were intended to be.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I was thinking the same thing. If we have silt fences buried under dirt, then clearly a lot of dirt has been moved beyond the limit of work, and that dirt needs to come back.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we can't know that until the surveyor reestablishes where that line's supposed to be.
Yep. Okay. So I think those are the immediate action items. We could also talk about fines. I don't know, Judy, if you've taken a stab at calculating any of those out based on what's going on.
I have, yeah. So it's the way we can do fines is $300 per violation, up to 10 days following a violation being observed. So to date, we've got 6 days of erosion controls remaining in disrepair since staff alerted the owner of the issue. That's something that can continue as long as those erosion controls remain in disrepair. So 6 days equals 6 violations. We have 11 trees damaged, so 11 times 300 if you'd like to calculate that. And then the dumping and the disturbance outside the limit of work, maybe I would say it's 1 dump pile, so that counts as 1 violation. And then the tire tracks and material that got left outside the limit of work, that's another. So in total, as of today, it's 6 days of erosion controls, 11 trees, 1 for dumping and 1 for tire tracks. So that's 17, 18, 19 violations for a total of $5,700. And then if you'd like to stipulate every day they remain in disrepair constitutes another ticket. That's $300 per day moving forward.
Okay.
I don't think, through the chair, though, I don't think we're saying, are we go out and reestablish all the erosion control? There needs to be an assessment of, like where we said earlier, like where should they be? How would you know where to put them right now? If the original limit of work is really you can't see it.
Right. Yeah, I think that was maybe item number 3 that we were talking through on what to include in the enforcement order. So we're definitely including that for sure. I was just moving on to fines. This is an opportunity where we could entertain issuing tickets and fines for the violations that have occurred. So I think that's what Judy was going through there. And there's a limited time frame in which we can issue those, right, Judy? It has to be within...
Yeah, so within 10 days, but every day the erosion controls remain in disrepair could count as an additional violation. I think that's, to Walter's point, more of an encouragement to get a surveyor out there to reestablish the approved line. So, you know, even if they aren't able to do so right now, it's because of error with the project. And I think it's even more motivation to get it fixed.
So if we establish a date in which to get these reestablished, I mean, it is a situation where when we do not have responsiveness, can't get in touch, issue a cease and desist and nothing's happening, it is frustrating. And that is when I feel like fines are appropriate. However, we do have Mrs. Lee in and we're talking about it. Seems like you want to cooperate and move forward and do the best thing here. So I think I would be okay with not issuing the fines of what's accrued to date, but putting a pretty quick timeline in place for getting the erosion controls established and addressing those other items, and absolutely issuing fines per day if that's not met by that date and anytime into the future with this project.
Alyssa?
Yes, Ted.
Can I offer a slightly alternate proposal for the commission to consider?
Absolutely.
I think that Ms. Lee's confusion about how quickly we need to get those barriers back up is understandable. So I think that I am okay with looking askance at the daily fine for the lack of erosion controls up to now. The single fines for the tree damage for the dumping, I would like to hold Mrs. Lee responsible for those. Because that's just a different situation. I think part of the day after day of no erosion controls is because Ms. Lee was trying to find the best answer. And I think that she was mindful of what would be the best answer. So that's why I'm willing to look askance at those that have been accrued up till now. But I would like to fine for the tree damage for the dumping of the waste stuff. we can't talk about the dirt that has overflowed the limit of work because we don't even know how much is there. So that's difficult to assess right now.
Right.
But I would like to use the threat of fines as a spur to get that surveyor out there ASAP so we can reestablish those.
Yep. No, that's a good point, Ted. I would hope, I would love if there was an opportunity for Mrs. Lee to pass those fines on to the tree contractor.
Oh, I agree.
But that is not on the commission's purview. Do others have thoughts on that, on the fining?
I'm inclined to go with what Ted was saying. Somewhat.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think somebody ought to be held accountable. That's the applicant, the owner. But I can go along with what Ted said.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. All right. So
I actually have a comment, if I
Yes.
may. First of all, I always accept the consequence, no matter, whether, it's my parcel. But at the same time, I personally don't think what Ted proposed was fair in a way that I actually felt Melissa's proposal was much more fair because in Judy's email to me, she never mentioned about a fine. You could not backdate it for things. Tell me something right now that you never told me before. And I have been working, so she told me cease work right away, which happened. And then she told me the next hearing is today. And I attended. And I did everything I could. I went to the site. I tried to find people for the erosion control. I contacted the tree guy, telling him whether he should do something for the erosion control in the meantime. He promised he would go to take a look, and he never responded to me. And I did everything I could. It was when she called me until now, and I did not stop working. And nobody told me anything about fine until tonight. And you're posing something onto me that was never disclosed to me before. That was not fair. And with all the respect, it's not fair. I think Melissa's proposal was much more fair in a way that if you gave me a reasonable deadline, and also you can fine me $10,000 per day. The surveyor could care less. It's not like they are my father. They could go tomorrow. I can say I pay you 3 times. They could still ignore my call. If anyone here in this group is able to get a surveyor out tomorrow, I'm willing to pay whatever he asks for. If you are able to make that happen. You don't know how much I've been going through. It's just not right. Well, I know I respect what you're doing, but you cannot treat people like that. You think this is obnoxious. And I have been trying to do everything right. I did everything I could to make it right. I treat people nicely. I treat tree guy nicely. I paid him in advance on time. I told him he knew everything. I did everything I could. If this happened to you, what would you do? You have to treat people the way you wanted to be treated. Yeah, that's just what I wanted to share.
Okay. Appreciate that. But, it is identified in the violation letter that there's possibility of fines and enforcement. It's part of the permitting process. When you sign up for a permit and get issued a permit with the Conservation Commission, it's in our regulations. We don't hide that fact. I think it is well known that we do have the ability to fine in these types of instances, and the commission does take it seriously. We don't do it willy-nilly. We don't do it often, and but we do need to use it sometimes because that's how some people gets attention. So I don't want to be presented that the commission, is the bad guy here, because we also have a responsibility that we are supposed to uphold, and it's for, these resource areas and things that we're protecting that don't have a voice at all. So that being said, again, I guess I leave that up to commission members on what we want to include in this enforcement order. Any other thoughts on fining, including fines? I think we're all okay on the other aspects of the enforcement order, other than establishing what that deadline is.
Yeah, through the chair.
Yes.
Took a quick look at the weather forecast. I mean, every day there are no erosion controls. There's a risk of a rainstorm. I don't want to say freak rainstorm to trigger Ted. But I'm seeing rain forecasted for September 1st. So there's honestly not a lot of wiggle room. I think I would feel uncomfortable offering a date other than as soon as possible, in my opinion, because then they're just gonna wait until that date comes. So I think as soon as possible, and then if there's rain in between them, honestly, there's been a little bit more time than after today to get those erosion controls put back in. So that's my suggestion.
So you feel comfortable using as soon as possible? Okay.
Yeah. And I guess we can, as staff, verify that the survey posts were put back in, and we can make sure the erosion controls were established correctly. But I think as a commission, you might not want to specify a date, just as soon as possible, I would say.
Okay. And Mrs. Lee, I would just understand that when we say as soon as possible, I would caveat that with if the risk you have there, the longer that as soon as possible takes, and these rain events come in, if you have no erosion controls right now, you have no protection, that, now very clearly that we do have fining ability, and if a rainstorm comes through and you don't have those erosion controls up and there's sediment that makes its way past where the barrier is supposed to be, then there's absolutely most definitely fines associated.
I proposed one thing. I was thinking I can try if I cannot find a contractor, I mean my husband, me, and we can go and start doing the work and putting the cell before. Of course, we need a professional help to make it faster, but at least we can start doing. I order the material and doing the work, and then the surveyor. I'm going to call the same surveyor, but I don't know how quickly they can come out, but I can at least reestablishing them by the same line. And then when the surveyor put survey stick in, if anything is off, we can just quickly fix that off part. That way will be faster for the environment. Will that be acceptable?
I will leave the means and methods of how it gets done to you. So you can talk with the contractors, and if that's what you need to do, then you do what you need to do.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes, Judy.
Just one other recommendation. This is a project that does not have the requirement of bi-monthly SWIP reports. So reporting on the status of the erosion controls, any maintenance requirements. That might be something the commission might want to consider establishing a requirement for. So somebody trained in the EPA's construction monitoring needs to submit twice monthly reports, as well as reports after every major rain event. Start getting those for this project like we do for some of our other larger projects.
Yep.
So maybe I might suggest that be included in any enforcement order language that the commission might be voting on.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea, Judy, just especially with kind of the struggles here. I would be that to me, because there is a little bit of an expense associated with that, and the applicant would be responsible for funding that SWIP inspection, right, Judy? That's how we would word it in the enforcement order.
It depends on the level of qualification you want the person conducting the monitoring to have. So anybody can technically get the EPA certification. So if you want to specify that it's somebody with like X number of years of experience or something in addition, that might be helpful because technically like anybody could go and get that certification. It takes like a day.
Right.
So my question also, very soon will be winter time. Nothing will be happening on this site during winter time. So after this fixing, if I'm lucky, I get the tree thing done, then pretty much that's it. And it will just stop working. And then snowing and everything, how do we? And then maybe when spring comes, it will be the time when we start working again.
Right, and spring is the really tricky time because you have thaw and you have snow melt, and that's where we usually see issues. But as part of the erosion control or the inspector training and protocol, there are guidelines on over the winter where if you have frozen conditions, they can pause inspections during that time if the weather constraints allow for that there's really not an opportunity for, precipitation and movement of soils.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what you were alluding to, not needing to do inspections if there's no work. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. And number two, when I was doing erosion control, Judy proposed something about I send her photos every 2 weeks, something like that. I don't know whether that still can be the case. So I can potentially save the additional cost going on to this
I think so we can pose that to the commission and how we want to write it up in the order. That would be an alternative, but kind of where I was going with my statement of if we're incurring costs for SWIP inspections by a third party, I would rather, additional money that you're spending go toward that rather than fines. Fines, they are a necessary evil, but that money does not go to the commission in any way, shape, or form.
I understand. I'm saying that if I send a report and the inspector does not need to come every 2 weeks, they can check randomly to see whether my report is honest and accurate. That way, it's not like consistently every 2 weeks someone doing something. I could offer value to.
I think we would need it to be bi-weekly if that's the route we want to go. So I'll ask other commission members, Ted, Jim, do you have, Peggy, Walter, anybody, thoughts on that?
I'm good with that.
I don't have any more thoughts on it.
I'm trying to understand, are you suggesting that we do not issue any fines now with the understanding that every other week SWIP reports is going to add up to a cost that's roughly equivalent to the fining? Or at least does the job of the fining?
I like Judy's idea of having a third party SWIP inspection just to keep eyes on the site moving.
I agree. I like that a lot too.
But I'm acknowledging the fact that comes with a cost to the applicant. And while I appreciate also, the fines that we might issue, for the tree damage, for the dumping, I also don't want to see a project go dead financially. That is not good for the commission or the applicant or, anyone. So I'm trying to also be conscious of that. So if I was picking where to...
May I ask a math question?
Yep.
If I held firm to my proposal for fines, eliminate the fines for the silt fence missing and only do the tree and the dumping, what is that fine? How much is that?
The chair.
Yes.
don't know if you want to fully trust me for math, but there were 11 jurisdictional trees damaged. So a $300 fine per tree is $3,300. And then if you want to add one fine per dumping and one fine for, we'll call it disturbance outside the limit of work, that would add another 600. So 3,900 combined for tree damage and work outside the limit of work. Discounting days erosion controls have been in disrepair.
Okay. It is so late, Melissa, but I'm going to offer one more counter proposal because I hear exactly what you're saying, and I love Judy's suggestion about the SWIP reports, and I think it's important that we have a professional producing those every other week. We cannot hold fines in abeyance, like in the old days, and say, don't have a mistake. So I'm going to say, I want to propose, that was about $4,000 you just threw out, $3,900.
Yep.
I'm going to say $2,000 fine. So we're knocking well over 50% off the fines because we're also not fining for the silt fence at all. And then require $2,000 is a lot of money for me right now, but in the scale of a whole house building project, it's kind of a pittance. And I don't think that's going to make the difference of finishing the project or not. So I'm going to propose to the commission a $2,000 fine for the damage to the trees, to the tracks outside of the work, for the dumping of stuff. And then we require, once the silt fencing is done correctly, we require every 2 weeks SWIP reports from a professional.
Okay.
And with the reminder that that silt fencing needs to be up ASAP because fines are possible.
I'm on board with that, Ted. Judy, do you want to call that a number of fines versus a dollar value? Or does that matter when you're writing the tickets?
Yeah, I was going to ask for a number divisible by 300. This is more math than I've done in
I'll tell you what, I'll go even more generous. Let's call it an $1,800 fine because that's divisible by 300 instead of going up to 2,100.
Okay, so that's six violations. So maybe just cut down on the number of trees, Judy. We can assume that some of them weren't too significantly damaged.
Yep, I can do the paperwork for that.
Okay. All right. That being said, can I get a motion to have Judy write up the enforcement order and issue it?
Are the fines and the enforcement order the same motion, or are those two separate motions?
Those would be two separate motions, please.
Do you want to do the fines first then, Ted?
Sure. I'll make a motion to issue an $1,800 fine for 6 violations on the site. With signatures. I assume we need signatures.
I will second that motion.
All right. All in favor, Jim?
Aye.
Ted?
Aye.
Peggy?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. Then can I get a motion to issue the enforcement order as discussed?
With
So moved.
Signatures, yeah.
Oh,
with signatures.
the signatures. Yep, so moved as amended.
And I'll second.
All right. All in favor, Jim?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Peggy?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
And I am also an aye. Okay. All right. Thank you for.
And Melissa?
Yes, Ted.
Just to be absolutely clear, the cease and desist for any other work stays enforced until we are satisfied with the repair to the erosion controls. No other work can be done.
Correct. That's correct. Any other caveats there, Judy?
Nope. I guess Does the commission want to review compliance with the enforcement order prior to that cease and desist being lifted? Or are you trusting staff to confirm that those items have been met? Either way, if you'd like the applicant to come to the next meeting with an update, or if you'd like us to handle things in the background, unless it escalates.
I'd say if things, then coming to the next meeting with an update regardless would be a good idea.
Okay.
But yeah, if everything gets taken care of, I'm okay with staff clearing the order. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we can put an item on the agenda for the next meeting for an update.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes, Ted.
Once we get the surveyed fencing back up, we are going to have to deal with the extra fill that went on the wrong side of the limit of work, which may mean another enforcement order then. I don't know if that's part of what we should be thinking about before lifting the cease and desist or not. I'm willing to look to you and Judy for what you think is best.
In my mind, I think I would just issue a new order because it's in place. The site is stable. Therefore, I feel like that's a reason for a cease and desist.
Okay.
In my
and then
mind,
we'll just deal with that issue later on.
Right.
Okay, that's because we do want the site finished.
Yeah.
We want it done the right way, but we do want it finished, so.
Right.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay. All right. Thank you for coming in, Mrs. Lee.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Commission liaison reappointments. So I think we can go through this quick. In the detailed agenda, Judy had outlined who currently serves on the different committees. Did get an email from Ed. He serves as the liaison for Open Space Preservation Commission and would be happy to be reappointed. Jim serves as the liaison for CPC. Jim, I think you had said at the last meeting that you would stay on, but I want to not speak for you entirely.
Yes, please. I would definitely stay on CPC.
Okay. And then Ted, you are okay with continuing on with SAC?
I am.
Okay. So with those three, I guess I'll just open it up to the commission. Does anyone else interested in those liaison positions, or do you want to make a motion to, what do we do here? Reappoint the current members or current liaisons?
I'll make a motion to approve the liaisons as mentioned by the chair.
Okay. Can I get a second?
I'll second. I was waiting for Peggy as one of the non-nominees to second, but I'll second.
Sorry, I was looking for the button to go back on audio. It's getting late.
Do you want to take the second? We'll put it in the minutes.
All right. All in favor, Jim?
She can't go under, honey. She's never going to sit there. No, this way.
All right, Ted.
Ted isn't high.
Peggy.
Maybe this will be a lesson to you. Come on.
Walter.
Aye.
And Jim, are you with us?
Yeah, I am.
Aaron, aye?
Yes, aye.
Okay. And I am also an aye. All right, so there's still the open liaison position for Lake Maspinock Weed Citizen Input Group. If anybody has any ideas on that, or wants to throw their hat in the ring, please do. But I don't think we have any interest currently.
Here, come here.
Conservation minutes. Do we have anything that we really wanted to cover?
I think it was just, do we want a separate meeting to talk about the regs? So I think we've actually done conservation minute.
Yeah.
And Family Day, September 19th. We have a table. Come have fun.
Yep. I'll definitely come, Judy. And if anyone else wants to attend, please let Judy know.
I thought I was going to be out of town, but since it's the 19th, I might be able to make it.
Oh, you can make it. Okay.
Yeah, it's looking like I can.
Okay. Cool.
Again, I'll be taking kids to the White Mountains for a hiking trip. I'm not going to be available.
Okay. Well, we'll hope for no rain all around then.
I'll be in Ireland.
No rain for you either, Walter.
Good luck. You're in Ireland.
I know. All right. Can I get a motion to close the hearing?
We're happy to make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, Jim?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Peggy?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
And I am also an aye. All right.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank
Yeah.
you, Judy. Thank you,
Sorry
Anna.
for the lateness, guys, but thanks for hanging in there.
I don't know if there was any way to make that one fast.
I don't think there was.
Good night, all.
Night, everybody. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Thanks,